I died on a Wednesday at 3 in the morning, which honestly tracks for someone like me. No drama, no final words, just me, my car, and a street lamp. The last thing I remember thinking was, I really should have called in sick today. 36 hours of testing the same boss fight in a fantasy MMO. My brain finally clocked out without permission from the rest of me. That happens. When you treat coffee like oxygen for a week and a half straight. My name was Ethan Park, 27 years old, game tester at a studio that paid me, just enough to keep showing up and not nearly enough to ever leave. That was the whole story, short, unremarkable, and ending in a way that would barely make the local news. Some people get sent off with violins. I got glass, then everything went black. Not movie black, actual black. The kind of nothing that swallows, even the concept of nothing itself. I did not have time to panic, and then I felt cold, real cold, the kind that crawls into your bones. Before your skin even realizes, it should be complaining loudly about the temperature. I opened my eyes and immediately wished I had not. Trees, massive ones, stretching up into a sky I had never seen in my life. 2 moons, 2 of them. One pale white, one a faint glowing blue, both staring down at me like I personally owed them money and they had been waiting a long time to collect. I tried to sit up. My body refused, not in the I am too tired way, in the I am not built like that anymore way. Something was structurally wrong with me. I looked down. Paws, black paws, covered in fur darker than the sky above me. I counted them slowly because my human brain needed to be absolutely sure first. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 paws. I had 4 paws. My hands were gone. My fingers were gone. My ability to type or hold a controller had been deleted. I tried to scream. What came out was a small, miserable sound that echoed back at me, like the forest itself was laughing. Cool. Great. Wonderful start. I attempted to stand. All 4 legs gave out simultaneously. I face-planted into a pile of damp leaves with the grace of someone alive for 7 minutes. Lying there with leaves stuck to my whiskers, I tried to remember anything from my last moments. The road, the street lamp, my forehead meeting glass at speed. Yeah, that one. That was definitely the cause of death. So this was the afterlife, or reincarnation, or some kind of cosmic clerical error involving me. I had watched enough isekai anime during my night shifts to recognize a transmigration when I face-planted directly into one. Trees, moons, wrong body, classic. I tried to stand again. This time I managed to get my back legs under me first, then my front. My body wobbled, but it stayed up. Tiny progress, but real. That was when a small translucent window appeared in front of my face, just floating there, glowing softly in the dark forest. Letters I somehow understood. System initialization complete. Welcome, host. I stared at the window. The window stared back. My human brain short-circuited and rebooted in 2 seconds. A system. I had a system. Like in the lit RPG novels I used to read between bug reports, like in every overpowered protagonist story I had ever mocked online. Apparently the universe had a sense of humor, and apparently I was the punchline. Fair enough. I had earned some karmic comedy after 27 flat years. Species identified, Umbrapard. Common designation, Shadow Leopard. I read it 3 times, then I read it again because my brain refused to commit. Shadow Leopard. I had become a Shadow Leopard. I had no idea what that meant in this world, but it sounded cooler than game tester from apartment 4B. The window kept loading more information. Status, newborn, level 1. Available skills, shadow step locked. Silent movement passive, night vision passive. Night vision was already on. That explained why I could see the entire forest. In shades of silver and blue, even though it was the middle of the night, my human eyes would have been completely useless out here. My new ones were eating. The darkness like a snack. I could see individual leaves 40 meters away. I could see the bark on trees I should not have been able to see at all. The whole forest looked like a strange, beautiful, slightly threatening painting. I took 1 shaky step forward, and then another. My body felt foreign, like I was renting it, from someone who had not given me the manual or the keys yet. But the legs worked. The paws gripped the ground. The tail behind me actually balanced me. When I almost tipped over to one side, I had a tail now. Cool, a tail. I had a tail. I tried to move it experimentally, and it twitched obediently. Honestly, the most cooperative part of this entire body so far. I respected that energy. The rest of me was barely functioning, but the tail was all ready. A team player, good tail. We would get along, the tail and I. The forest around me was massive, older than anything I had seen on Earth. The trees had bark like armor and roots twisted across the ground like sleeping snakes. Everything smelled too sharp, too clear, too alive. My new nose was sending me information I did not know how to process at all. Layers, ages, directions. I could smell water about 400 meters east, pine sap to the north. Something dead but not rotten about a kilometer south. And under all of it, warmth. Something breathing. Something close. My ears swiveled before I even told them to. Footsteps, light, uneven, stumbling. And right behind them, something heavier. Something deliberate. Something hunting. Every survival instinct that had ever lived in this leopard body activated at once. My fur stood up. My pupils dilated. My claws extended without my permission. My human brain barely kept up with what was happening. The Leopard was driving now. I was just the worried passenger. Threat detected. The system window flashed red briefly, then faded out. Recommendation? Conceal yourself. You're not strong enough to engage. Thanks, system. Wow, really filling me with confidence today. I appreciated the honesty, though. Better than my old performance reviews, which had always lied to me about my growth. I crouched low against the leaves. Silent movement kicked in automatically. The sound of my own steps disappeared completely. Even my breathing went quieter. The body itself knew how to hide better than my human brain ever did. 27 years of being a person, and this newborn cat had better instincts than me. I crept toward the noise, low to the ground, body pressed against the cold earth. Every nerve was firing at once. My new heart hammered against my new ribs. Through the trees, I saw her. A girl, no older than 19 or 20. Dirty white dress that used to be expensive before whatever happened to her happened. Hair tangled with leaves and dried blood at her temple. She was limping badly on her right leg, dragging it more than walking on it. Every step looked painful. She was the most exhausted person I had ever seen, and I had once watched a coworker stay awake for 52 hours straight to finish a launch crunch project. She kept moving forward anyway, step by uneven step. Whatever this girl was made of, it was not the kind of thing that gives up when the universe stops being kind. Behind her, maybe 40 meters back, 3 figures moved through the trees, armored, weapons drawn. Hoods pulled low over their faces. They were not in a rush, which was somehow worse than if they had been chasing her at full sprint. They knew she could not outrun them. They were just waiting for her to collapse alone, so they would not have to do the actual work themselves. Professional, patient, wrong on every possible level I could imagine. My fur stood up again all on its own. The girl stumbled and caught herself against a tree. She breathed hard, one hand pressed against her side. Blood. Dark red soaked through the dirty fabric. She had been wounded hours ago, probably. The blood had already dried and started bleeding again, which meant she had been pushing through pain for a long time. She looked up at the sky between the branches. 2 moons. She closed her eyes for a moment, and I watched her lips move silently. I could not hear the words, but I understood the shape of them. A prayer, or a goodbye. I honestly could not tell which one she was choosing. Maybe both at the same time, twisted together. My new leopard brain wanted to run. Strongly, forcefully. Every instinct in this body was screaming that I was a newborn with no training, no strength, no business here. My human brain, the one that had spent 27 years being completely useless in every actual emergency, said something different than the leopard for once. It said, "She's going to die in about 10 minutes if nobody does anything." I sat there in the leaves, hidden in the shadow of a tree, and had a values crisis. At the worst possible time, naturally. The leopard wanted to live. The human wanted to do one good thing for once in 2 consecutive, miserable lives. Just one. The girl pushed off the tree and tried to keep walking. Her leg gave out almost immediately. She fell to her knees in the wet leaves. She did not cry out. She did not even look surprised by it. She had been waiting for this moment for a while now. You could tell from her shoulders, from the calm in her tired face, from the way her hand stayed pressed against her wound without trembling at all. This girl had already done her grieving. She was just waiting for the ending. One of the armored figures stepped forward, slowly drawing a curved sword. The other 2 spread out, blocking any escape route she might still imagine she had. Clean formation. Professional. They had absolutely done this before. The lead one's voice was flat and bored when he finally spoke into the cold forest air. "Princess Alara Varen," he said. "By order of the Empress, your exile is now revoked. You are sentenced to death for treason against the imperial crown." Princess? Of course, she was a princess. The universe had really committed to the trope tonight. I made a note to file a complaint with the writer of my new life, assuming I survived the next 10 minutes, which was looking less and less likely by the second. The girl, Alara, slowly lifted her head from where she knelt. Her eyes were gray, not soft gray, sharp gray, the kind that looks at a drawn sword and decides it is not actually that impressive once you really stare at it. "My stepmother sent you," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it did not shake at all. "Tell her I knew. Tell her I always knew exactly what she was." The lead assassin laughed, genuine, unbothered laughter. The kind of laugh that said he had heard last words before and he found them all equally meaningless. "You can tell her yourself, in whatever life comes after this one." He raised the sword high. The other 2 stepped closer, weapons ready, professionally bored. As if killing a teenage girl in a forest was just a regular Tuesday for them. Maybe it was. Maybe this empire was the kind of place where Tuesdays got dark fast. Something in my chest broke. Not metaphorically, literally. Some part of this new body cracked open and let out something I did not know it was holding inside. The system window flashed in my vision again, but brighter this time. Emotional trigger detected. Skill activation. Shadow step. Unlocking now. New text appeared. Warning, user is below recommended level for combat engagement. Survival probability, 12%. 12%. Cool. Loving the odds. That was barely better than the odds of me ever paying off my student loans in my previous life, and look how that turned out for me. Permanently, in fact. I shoved my paws into the ground. The leaves crunched silently beneath them. My eyes locked onto the lead assassin, the one with the sword, the closest one, the one about to make the next 30 seconds completely permanent for the princess kneeling in front of him. The system whispered into my mind one more time. Shadow step, melt into shadow, reappear within 10 meters, energy cost, high, combat use, ambush only. I did not have time to study the instruction manual. I had spent 12 years of my life learning combat mechanics in video games. Pull aggro, break line of sight, hit and run. Never engage a stronger enemy head-on. The rules were the rules in any world, including this one. Tank, damage, escape. Repeat. I had cleared raid bosses in MMOs with worse setups than the one I had. The sword came down. I moved. My body dissolved into shadow before my brain understood the command. One moment I was crouched behind a tree. The next moment, I was 3 meters behind the lead assassin, claws already extended. I did not aim for anything fatal. I aimed for the back of his knee, the tendon, the joint, the place where a human stops being able to stand up. My paw moved before any plan caught up to it. Pure muscle memory from a body that should not have any yet. He went down screaming, not dying, just falling, just suddenly understanding that something in the dark forest had decided he was not the most dangerous thing. The sword dropped beside him into the wet leaves. The other two spun toward the sound. Their weapons came up fast, trained, professional. They scanned the trees. They did not see me because I was already back in the shadows 10 meters away. My energy bar in the system window dropped by a third. Shadow step was expensive. What was that? One of them hissed into the dark. The other one stepped backward, putting his back to a tree, eyes wide and white in the moonlight above. Not a wolf, not a bear, something else. He had absolutely no idea how right he was about that. I was definitely something else. Even the system was not sure. The girl, Alara, watched all of this from her knees in the leaves. She did not move. She did not run. She just watched, her gray eyes wide and very alert. Like she was trying to figure out what story she had just been dropped into without warning, like she had read this scene before in a book a long time ago. I crouched in the dark, breathing hard. Shadow step had drained something out of me. My legs felt heavy. The system window pulsed softly in my vision again. Energy remaining. 31%. Recommend retreat now. Yeah, retreat. Great suggestion, system. Truly excellent strategic advice in this exact moment. Except the moment I retreated, the 2 remaining assassins would finish the job, and the girl who had just watched something save her would die anyway, confused. I needed them to think there were more of me. I needed them to think the forest itself had turned against them tonight, which, to be fair, was not entirely untrue. The forest had me in it now. That was a change. A small one, maybe, but still a change. I circled wide and fast, paws silent against the wet ground beneath me. I came at the second assassin from his left side, one swipe across the back of his calf. He yelled and stumbled hard. I was gone before he turned around. The third one panicked. He swung his sword wildly at empty air, eyes darting between the trees. There's more than one of them, he gasped, to no one in particular. There has to be more than one of them. There absolutely was not. There was just me, tired, cold, running on 12% survival odds and pure stubbornness. The one I had hit first was trying to crawl backwards, leaving a trail of dark blood behind him in the leaves. The second one was bleeding from his leg badly, looking everywhere at once. The third one was hyperventilating into his hood like a man who had just learned monsters were real, and they had a personal grudge. 3 trained killers reduced to scared men in under 20 seconds by a newborn leopard with 12% survival odds. I felt strangely proud about it. Probably the wrong moment for pride. I took it anyway. You take wins where you find them in life, or whatever this was supposed to count as, technically. Fall back, the third one finally hissed to the others. Fall back. Now, we come back with more men. He grabbed the wounded first assassin by the arm. He started dragging him backwards through the trees. The second one followed, limping badly, sword still raised, eyes still scanning every shadow around them. They retreated. Actual professional killers, retreating from a newborn cat. The night had a sense of humor after all. I appreciated that about the night. I waited. 5 minutes, 10, until their scent faded into the deeper forest entirely. Until my pounding heart finally calmed down enough that I could hear again. Until the girl finally moved. Alara, the princess, slowly pushed herself off her knees. She looked at the dark blood on the leaves, then at where they had run. Then, very slowly, she looked at the trees behind her, directly at me, through me, like she knew exactly which shadow I was hiding in right at that moment. Her gray eyes narrowed slightly, not with fear, but with the calm calculation of someone who had survived too much to be afraid of one more strange new thing. You can come out, she said quietly. Her voice was steady, not commanding, not pleading, just steady, like she was talking to an animal she had met before. Whatever you are, I will not hurt you. I do not have the strength left to hurt anything tonight, even if I wanted to, which I do not. She waited patiently. I hesitated. Every instinct said, stay hidden, stay safe, watch from a distance, be the cat that nobody can ever find. The system window pulsed once more in my eyes. Caution. Unknown human contact. Consequences unpredictable. Yeah, unpredictable. Story of my life now, apparently. I'd stopped being able to predict anything. I stepped out of the shadow anyway, slowly, one paw at a time, into the silver light of 2 moons, into the eyes of a princess who was bleeding and exhausted, and somehow not afraid of the thing that had just saved her life, which, honestly, said more about her than it said about me. I was clearly intimidating, no? She looked at me, really looked, took in the black fur, the size, the eyes that probably glowed faintly in the dark because everything in this body glowed. Her lips parted slightly. An umbrapard, she whispered, but they have been extinct for 300 years. Her voice cracked on the last word she spoke, not from fear, but from something that sounded almost like wonder, like when she was looking at a ghost she had read about as a child and never expected to meet. Great. So I was not just rare, I was extinct. That was definitely the kind of thing that was going to attract a normal, healthy amount of attention from people. No problems there at all. None whatsoever. I would just keep that little detail in my back pocket and pretend it was not going to ruin my life later somehow. She lowered herself onto her side, very carefully, like every movement cost her something she could not afford to lose. The wound at her side was still bleeding. Slower now, but still bleeding. She pressed her palm against it again and breathed shallow breaths through her teeth. Her face had gone pale under the dirt. "If you're going to eat me," she said softly, eyes already closing, "please make it quick. I'm very tired." Then her head touched the leaves and she stilled. I stood there for a long moment staring at this girl who had just calmly invited a wild predator to eat her because she was too exhausted to argue anymore. What a mood. Honestly, same energy on a different scale. I had felt that way at the end of every fiscal quarter for 5 years running back in my old life. I walked over to her. My paws made no sound on the leaves. I lowered my nose close to her face. She was still breathing. Shallow, slow, but breathing. She had passed out from blood loss, not died. The system window flashed gently in my vision again. Host detected wounded ally. Skill suggestion available. Body heat regulation available at level 5. Current level 1. Skill unavailable. Of course it was unavailable. Why would the useful skills be available? That would defeat the entire dramatic purpose of the protagonist starting week. I knew how these stories worked. I had read enough of them, after all. Many. I lay down beside her. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea where we were. I had no idea who her stepmother was, or why the Empress wanted her dead, or how an extinct leopard had ended up in the exact same forest as a wanted princess on the worst night of her life. The timing felt aggressively convenient. But I knew one thing for certain. If those 3 assassins came back with more men, the next fight was not going to be a quick scare in the dark. It would be real. The next fight was going to be the actual one. And we were not even close to ready for it. Not me, not her. Not this messy, half-formed plan in my head. The smaller of the 2 moons drifted slowly behind a cloud. The forest around us went quiet for a moment. Somewhere far off, a wolf howled, long and very low. The other forest creatures answered it, one by one. The night was alive, and I was new in it. Everything I knew about being alive was wrong by about 6 legs. I pressed my body gently against the princess's side, trying to share what little warmth the newborn leopard had to offer. She did not wake up at the contact, but she breathed a little easier, a little deeper. Something inside my chest settled into a shape I did not recognize yet, but already could not put down again. 12% survival odds, 3 assassins gone, 1 unconscious princess, 1 brand new system telling me I was extinct, and a stepmother out there somewhere. A stepmother who had not finished what she started yet, who would absolutely send more men, who probably had an entire empire's worth of resources behind her plans. For the first time since I died, I felt something that was not confusion or fear. I felt the very small, very stupid beginning of a plan forming in my head. A bad one, probably suicidal, but a plan nonetheless. I was not going to let her die in this forest. I did not exactly know why yet. The reasons would come later. Maybe because she had looked the universe in the face tonight and not flinched even once. Maybe because I was tired of being useless in 2 consecutive lives. Or maybe because somewhere in the back of my new brain I already understood that the moment I chose her, my second life was going to stop being a fluke entirely. It was going to start becoming a story. And stories had structure. Stories had stakes. Stories had endings that depended on what the protagonist did along the way. The system pulsed once more in my vision, very faintly, as if it had heard the thought. New objective registered. Protect Princess Alara Veyron of Veyron Empire. Reward. Hidden. Difficulty. Catastrophic. Catastrophic. Yeah, that sounded about right for me, honestly. My old performance reviews used to say similar things. I closed my eyes for a moment. The cold pressed in around us. The princess breathed beside me. Her hand had relaxed slightly, no longer clutching her wound. And somewhere out in the dark, 3 injured men were limping back to whoever had sent them, with a story their employer was absolutely not going to believe. A black leopard, out of nowhere, moving like shadow, hitting and disappearing. Yeah, have fun explaining that one to the Empress, gentlemen. Best of luck. I opened my eyes again. The forest stretched in every direction, vast and ancient, and full of things I did not yet have names for in either of my languages. The princess shivered once in her sleep. I shifted closer to her, the warmth of my fur against the cold of her skin. The smallest possible kindness I could offer. It was not much. But for tonight, it was going to have to be enough. Tomorrow we would deal with whatever came next. Right now, we just had to survive until dawn. That was the rule of every survival game I had ever played in my old life. Make it to sunrise, heal up, plan, move, repeat the cycle until something works out. I had played a lot of survival games. I was about to play one for real, with higher stakes, no respawns, and a princess I had somehow already decided to die for, if it came to that. Hopefully it would not. 12%? 12%? I kept repeating it in my head until the number stopped scaring me as much as before. 12 was not 0. 12 was something. 12 was the size of the opening I had to work with. And openings were all you ever really needed in any game. The smaller moon emerged from behind its cloud. Silver light spilled across the forest floor again. The princess's face caught it. She looked younger asleep. Less like a princess. More like a girl. Someone's daughter. Someone who had probably laughed easily once before the Empire decided she was inconvenient to keep. I did not know her story yet. I would learn it. I would learn all of it. The stepmother, the empress, the crown, the reason 3 professionals had hunted her. But not tonight. Tonight we just needed to make it through the dark. The first night of the rest of my second life. And the last night, hopefully, of her exile. Somewhere far away I heard wolves again. Closer this time. Not threatening, just present. The forest had its own residents and its own rules. We were new here. The system window flickered one final time before going quiet for the night. Sleep cycle recommended. Energy will regenerate. Combat readiness will improve. Rest. Sure, I would try. I closed my eyes and listened to the princess breathe. To the wind in the trees, to my own heartbeat, foreign and small and stubborn. But before I could drift off, something in the deeper forest snapped. A branch, too heavy to be a fox, too deliberate to be the wind. Someone else was out there. My eyes flew back open. My ears swiveled toward the sound. The system window flashed urgently in red text again. Movement detected. Distance 200 meters. Threat level unknown. Of course, because the universe was apparently not done with us tonight. Because 12% had felt like too much somehow to keep. I lifted my head slowly. The princess did not stir. Whatever was coming through the trees was moving carefully, but it was definitely moving toward us, not away. Drop a comment and tell me which animal you would actually want to be reborn as if you got the choice. And if you are vibing with this story, you know what to do. The branch snapped again, closer this time. I could hear breathing now, slow and heavy, the kind of breathing that came from something big and trying to be quiet. My system pinged softly. Threat assessment in progress. Scanning. I held perfectly still, low against the princess's side, every muscle ready to move at once. A shape emerged from between 2 trees about 30 meters away. Not human. 4 legs, massive shoulders, antlers wide enough to scrape the lower branches off. A stag. Just a stag. The biggest one I had ever seen, sure, but still a stag. My heart, which had been preparing to launch itself out of my chest, calmed down slowly. The stag froze when it caught my scent. Its huge dark eyes locked onto mine across the forest floor. 2 predator-shaped reflections caught in its glassy stare. The system updated. Threat level, low. Species, great crowned stag. Note, peaceful and less cornered. Good to know. We had a peaceful giant deer in the neighborhood. The stag tilted its massive head, sniffing the air. It looked at the princess. It looked at me. It seemed to make some kind of decision about both of us together. Then it simply turned and walked away. Slowly, calmly. Like it had decided we were not worth its trouble tonight. Honestly, the most relatable mood I'd seen all day. I exhaled hard. The princess shifted in her sleep beside me. Her hand had gone cold. I pressed closer to her, sharing warmth, watching her chest rise and fall. The wound at her side needed cleaning. Probably stitches, if this world had stitches. Definitely fresh water at minimum. I could smell that stream 400 meters east. But I was not leaving her. Not in this dark. Not with 3 injured assassins out there somewhere. Not until she woke up and could walk again on her own legs. The hours dragged on. I dozed in short bursts. Every few minutes my ears would twitch at a sound and my whole body would tense up, ready for the next threat. None came. The wolves howled distantly twice more. The stag did not return. The 2 moons crawled across the sky like they were not in any particular rush. The Princess Alara muttered something in her sleep. I caught fragments. Father? A pause. Don't. Another pause. I didn't. Her brow furrowed deep in her dream. Whatever she was reliving in there, it was not pleasant. I shifted my head closer to hers. She quieted. Maybe my warmth helped. Maybe she just got too tired to dream. Dawn arrived without warning. The sky went from black to gray to a watery gold, all in about 20 minutes. The forest woke up around us in layers of sound. Birds first, then insects, then the distant calls of larger animals starting their mornings. I'd never been awake for a real sunrise in my old life, not sober. She thought for a while. Then she nodded slowly. You came from Shadow. You moved like one. You saved me from death in the dark. I'm going to call you Shade. Shade. I tried it on internally. It fit. It was simple. It was honest. It did not require me to explain myself in a language I could no longer speak out loud anyway. Shade it is, she said. Welcome to my very small and very tragic court, Shade. I'm sorry there are no thrones, or guards, or really anything at all to offer you. She closed her eyes again. The food and water had hit her hard. Her body wanted to sleep now that it had been given a reason to. I let her. I would keep watch. The system updated quietly. Name registered. Shade. Bond status. Companion Tier 1. New skills unlocked at next level threshold. Excellent. Tier 1, whatever that meant. I had a name now. I had a princess. I had a mission. And I had a system that was apparently grading my relationships like a dating app rating compatibility scores. The morning warmed into afternoon. The Princess Alara slept against the rock, her breathing deep and steady. I sat at the edge of the small clearing and watched. The forest had 1,000 sounds. I was starting to learn them. Bird species by call, insects by their wing rhythm, the wind and different kinds of leaves. All of it had meaning. My system was passive scanning the area. Every few minutes, a new line of text would appear briefly. Squirrel detected, no threat. Boar detected at 400 meters, avoid. It was like having a tiny personal radar in my head. The video game tester in me was loving this. The cat in me was loving it more. Information was survival in any world. Around mid-afternoon, the system flashed something different. Movement detected, distance, 800 meters, bipedal, multiple, carrying weapons, slow approach. My fur stood up. The assassins were back. With friends, probably. Or worse, with someone smarter than them. I lowered myself to the ground and went very still. The Princess Alara needed to wake up. Now. We needed to move. We could not fight a second group with her in this condition. I patted over and nudged her gently with my nose. She opened her eyes immediately. Years of being hunted had taught her not to be a deep sleeper. She read my face in one glance. How close? She whispered. I tilted my head west, in the direction of the threat. She nodded. She started gathering herself. Her movements were still stiff, but the food had helped. She was steadier now. How many? She asked. I tapped my paw on the ground 6 times, then 7. Then I shook my head and tapped 6 again. Approximately. Maybe 6. Hard to count by scent. She stared at me. You're answering specific questions. With your paw, as if you understood the question. Her voice was flat. She was processing more than just numbers. I just looked at her. I did not have a good explanation. She did not push. There was no time. She nodded once, accepting it for now, and shoved more dry leaves on the fire. The fire flared briefly, then died down. She covered the remains with dirt to smother any smoke. She erased every sign we had been here within about 90 seconds. I was impressed. She had clearly done this before, or been trained to. Princess or not, this girl knew how to disappear from a campsite without leaving a trace. Lead the way, Shade, she said softly. I'll follow as fast as I can. She picked up the small bundle of supplies she'd made and slung it over her good shoulder. I turned east, away from the threat, toward higher ground. The system had mapped the local terrain enough to suggest a defensible position about 3 kilometers away. We started walking. The Princess Alara limped beside me. The wound at her side was bandaged now with strips of her own torn dress. Crude but functional. She was tough. We moved through the forest as quietly as we could. The cat half of me wanted to bound ahead and scout. The human half made me stay at her pace. We were a team now. About 20 minutes into the walk, the system pinged again. Movement detected. Distance, 600 meters. Closing increased speed. They have your scent. Of course they did. They found our trail. I tried to communicate by stopping and turning back the way we came. The Princess Alara understood immediately. Her face hardened. Hunting dogs, she muttered. My stepmother has hunting dogs trained for this. I should have expected it. She looked at me. Can you mask our scent somehow? I did not know. The system did not offer a skill for it. But I had an idea. I gestured with my head toward a small muddy patch beside a fallen log. She followed. I rolled in the mud. Fully, got it everywhere. My beautiful black fur, ruined. But the smell would change. She watched, understood, and did the same with the muddy slurry. She rubbed it on her clothes, her arms, her hair. By the time she was done, she looked less like a princess and more like a creature that had emerged from the forest floor itself. We started moving again, this time crossing through the small stream to break our scent trail entirely. We walked in the water for as long as the stream bed would allow. It was cold, brutally cold. My paws went numb within minutes. The Princess Alara's lips were turning blue. But we kept moving. The system pinged with approval. Scent trail broken. Pursuit confused. New estimated arrival time. Extended. Good. We had bought ourselves time. Not much, but enough to keep moving and find higher ground. We emerged from the stream a kilometer later, climbing out onto rocky terrain that did not hold scent well. The Princess Alara was shaking with cold. I pressed against her. She hugged me briefly, gratefully, then forced herself back to her feet. We keep going, she said through chattering teeth. I can warm up later. We have to keep going. I led her up a steep, rocky slope. The system was showing me a small natural shelter at the top, a rock overhang with multiple exit routes and a clear view in 3 directions. It took us almost an hour to climb. The Princess Alara fell twice. I caught her once with my body, kept her from sliding back down the slope. She did not thank me. She just kept climbing. When we finally reached the overhang, she collapsed beside the rock wall and just breathed for a while. I sat at the edge of the cliff and looked back the way we came. The forest stretched out below us in waves of green. I could see for kilometers. I could see, very far off, a thin line of moving figures. They had crossed the stream. They had found our trail again. The dogs had not been fooled for long. The system pinged. 6 hostiles, dogs accompanying. Estimated time to reach this position, 90 minutes. 90 minutes. We had 90 minutes. The Princess Alara could not run. The shelter was defensible from the front, but the cliff behind us had no easy descent route. We were going to have to fight, or hide so well they passed us by entirely. I looked at the Princess Alara, half asleep against the rock, her face streaked with mud. I made a decision. The kind of decision that probably should have been hers, but she was too exhausted to make any decisions right now. I would buy her the time she needed. I would go meet the hunters halfway down the slope, lead them off into a different direction, then loop back to her once they were chasing nothing through the wrong forest. It was risky, it was stupid. It was the kind of plan that got side characters killed in every story I had ever read, but it was the plan I had, and I trusted my system. I padded over to the Princess Alara and pressed my nose against her cheek once. She opened her eyes blearily. "Where are you going?" she murmured, half asleep. I tried to communicate with my eyes. "I will be back. Stay here. Stay quiet. Do not follow me." She must have understood something because she nodded slowly. "Come back to me," she whispered. "I do not have anyone else left, Shade. Please come back." She closed her eyes again. Her hand found my fur and gripped it briefly. Then she let go. I turned, and I padded down the slope back into the forest. The system pulsed in my vision. Strategic deception attempt. Difficulty? High. Good luck, host. Good luck. Encouraging. I appreciated the gesture. I moved silently down through the trees, working my way west, where the hunters would expect to find tracks. I started leaving deliberate signs, a claw mark on a tree at human eye level, a patch of disturbed earth, a bit of fabric I had torn from the Princess Alara's hem before leaving. I dropped the fabric where they could find it, but not too easily. I wanted the dogs to catch the scent and pull the whole group west, away from her, toward me. When I was a kilometer west of the Princess Alara's hiding spot, I climbed a tree, a high one, the kind they would never look up into because dogs do not point at branches. I waited. The system pinged. "Hostiles approaching your decoy trail. Estimated time to first contact, 12 minutes. Good. I just had to wait and not get spotted. I could hear them now. Voices. Low, professional, calm. The kind of voices that did not belong to people who had failed last night. These were the second wave. The serious ones. "Tracks are fresh," one said. "She crossed the stream, came up this way." Another voice answered. "The hounds have her scent. We will catch them by nightfall." Them. They knew about me now. The first group had reported back. Whoever the Empress's stepmother was, she had been told her assassins were beaten by a phantom black cat. She had sent professionals to deal with that too. The system flashed a new alert. Threat reassessment, new designation, Imperial Hunter Unit, caution recommended. Imperial Hunters? That sounded like the upgrade from 3-board killers with swords. That sounded like the kind of unit that was actually trained to deal with magic. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. The forest had stopped being polite very fast. I held perfectly still in my tree. The leader passed beneath me 10 meters away, on foot. He stopped. He sniffed the air. Actually sniffed. Like he could smell something the dogs could not. He looked around slowly. He was older than I had expected, maybe 40. His face was scarred. His eyes were gray, almost silver in the afternoon light, and they moved with the kind of slow precision that meant he saw everything carefully. He could not see me in the tree, but he knew something was off. He held up a hand. His unit froze instantly. The dogs went silent. 6 hunters and 4 dogs, all completely still. He looked up, slowly. His eyes scanned the branches above him. I held my breath. My system went silent. The world went silent. He looked directly at my tree. Then his eyes slid past, kept moving, kept scanning. He had not seen me. Silent movement and shadow camouflage had held. He lowered his hand. The unit resumed. They moved west, following the false trail I had laid. The dogs picked up the scrap of fabric and went absolutely wild. The hunters followed, faster now, confident. I waited. 10 minutes, 20, 30, until I was sure they were committed to the wrong direction. Then I climbed down silently and started running back to the Princess Alara. The system pinged with cautious approval. Deception successful. Pursuit redirected. Recommend immediate return to ally. I was already on it. I ran fast, silent, low. I covered the kilometer back in about 10 minutes. I reached the slope. I climbed up to the overhang. I expected to find the Princess Alara asleep where I had left her. She was not there. The overhang was empty. The supplies were gone. There was no sign of struggle, just empty rock. And a small piece of cloth pinned under a stone. I padded over and read what was scratched into the dirt beneath the cloth. 3 words. Just 3. Written in shaky lines with what looked like a sharpened stick. They found me. My fur stood up. My claws extended. The system flashed red across my vision. Ally compromised. Location unknown. Tracking initiated. Status urgent. How? How had they found her? The hunters were still chasing my fake trail kilometers away to the west. The dogs had been with them. Nothing should have been near her. Then I saw it. A second set of boot prints leading away from the overhang. Different prints from the Imperial hunters. Smaller, older boot style, just one set. Someone else had come up the slope while I was gone. Someone who had not been part of the hunting party. Someone who had taken her without a fight because she went with them, or because she had no choice. The system kept flashing. Tracking ally biosignature. Distance, 1,200 meters. Direction, northeast. Velocity, moving. Northeast. Away from the Imperial hunters. Away from any obvious route. Whoever had her was taking her somewhere I had not mapped yet. Somewhere not on any path I knew. I stood at the edge of the cliff and looked northeast. The forest stretched dark and dense in that direction. The light was already fading. The 2 moons were rising again. The first day of my second life had ended with me failing the one job I had given myself. Protect the Princess Alara. I had left her to draw the danger away, and someone else had walked right in and taken her while I was busy being clever. Whoever they were, they had known exactly when to move. They had been watching. Someone had been watching us. Someone who was not the hunters. Someone with their own agenda. Someone who had been in this forest a lot longer than either of us. I turned northeast and started running. The system updated my heading in real time. I ran. Branches whipped past my face. My paws barely touched the ground. Whatever was waiting for me at the end of that biosignature trail, I was going to find it. And whoever had taken the Princess Alara was going to learn very quickly that the night I had thought was over was not over yet. Not even close. And the Shadow Cat, the Empire's stepmother had laughed about, was about to come find his princess. Drop me a comment below if you're still vibing with this story. And tell me honestly, would you have left her alone on that cliff like I did? Or would you have stayed? I ran northeast through the deepening forest, paws barely touching the ground. The system kept the biosignature pulsing in my vision like a tiny beating heart. Every few seconds, the dot moved. The Princess Alara was still alive. She was still being taken somewhere. She was not being killed where she stood, which was something. But the distance kept growing. Whoever had her was moving fast. Faster than a wounded man dragging a hostage. So either she was walking willingly or being carried. Neither option was great for me. Both meant I was outclassed by whatever I was chasing. The system pinged softly in my mind. Caution. Unknown variable approaching. The light kept fading. The 2 moons rose again above the tree line, casting that strange double shadow across everything I passed. I had not slept in over 20 hours, or longer, depending on how I counted my last day as Ethan Park. My body was a leopard. My mind was a tired office worker. The combination was getting weirder by the hour. I pushed harder. The biosignature dot moved less now, maybe slowing down, maybe arriving somewhere. I closed the distance, 500 meters, 300, 100. The system flashed yellow. Approaching ally location. Multiple unknown entities present. Caution, caution, caution. Multiple. Not just one person, a whole group. I slowed. I dropped low. Silent movement engaged. My breathing went almost soundless. I crept through the underbrush, ears swiveling, picking up every sound ahead of me. I smelled smoke first. Wood smoke. The kind from a small contained fire, the way the Princess Alara had built earlier today. Then I smelled food. Roasting meat. Then I smelled people. At least 4, maybe 5. Different scents, different bodies. None of them matched the assassins from last night or the hunters from earlier. I crept closer. Through a screen of bushes, I finally saw them. A small camp, hidden in a natural dip between 3 large rocks. Almost invisible from any direction. 3 figures around the fire, all in dark traveling clothes. Hoods down for now, faces visible in the firelight. None of them Imperial soldiers, none of them assassins. They looked like travelers, or merchants, or maybe outlaws. Hard to tell. They had weapons, but the weapons were leaning against rocks, not being held. Casual posture. The Princess Alara sat on a flat stone near the fire. She was awake. She was eating. She did not look afraid. She did not look like a prisoner. She looked tired and skeptical. Across from her sat an older man. Gray beard, maybe 50. Sharp eyes. He was talking quietly to her. She was listening with the focused intensity she used for everything. I crouched in the brush and watched. The system updated softly. Targets, not hostile. Conversation tone, neutral. Princess vital signs, stable. Stable. Okay, so she was not in immediate danger. She was just being kept somewhere I had no permission to enter, by people who had apparently fed her better in an hour than I had managed all day. That stung my pride a little. I'm not proud of that reaction, but the cat in me had feelings about who got to feed the Princess Alara. The cat in me was clearly a mess. I needed information before I did anything. Charging in would be stupid. I crept closer, working around the perimeter of the camp, finding angles where I could hear. The old man was speaking. His voice was low and steady, the kind of voice that had been used to giving orders, but had not given them for a very long time now. Knew your mother, he was saying. Long before she married your father. Long before the Empress entered the picture. Your mother was the kindest woman in the Empire. The Princess Alara held perfectly still. Her gray eyes had locked onto his face. She did not eat. She did not breathe much. She just listened with everything she had. She had a friend in those days, the old man continued, a young captain in the Imperial Guard, loyal beyond reason. The friend made her a promise once, long ago. He paused. He looked at the Princess Alara very directly. He promised that if anything ever happened to her, he would find her daughter, wherever she was, and he would help. The Princess Alara's hand had started to shake slightly. She set down the bowl she was eating from. "And you are this friend?" she said quietly. It was not a question. The old man nodded once. "My name is Captain Roderick, although I have not been a captain for many years. I left the Imperial Guard the day your mother died, Princess." "The Empress's poison," the Princess Alara said flatly. "Not an illness, not an accident. We all knew, but no one ever said it out loud. We were all afraid of her." Roderick nodded slowly. "I knew it the day it happened. I tried to gather evidence. I tried to bring the truth to your father. The Empress had me framed for treason instead. I escaped before they could execute me. I've been in this forest for 16 years, waiting, watching you grow up from a distance, Princess Alara." The Princess Alara stared at him. Her face had gone very pale under the dirt. I could see her processing this, trying to fit a new piece into a puzzle she had been working on her whole life. "You've been watching me my entire life," she said slowly. "And you only show yourself now, after the Empress finally won, after I've been exiled and almost killed." Roderick looked at the fire for a moment. His jaw worked. When he looked back at her, his eyes were tired and old. "Because I could not interfere before. The Empress had spies everywhere. If I had moved against her, she would have killed you outright. The only thing keeping you alive for 16 years was that she believed you were no threat. She believed wrong." "What changed?" the Princess Alara asked. "Why does she want me dead now, if she didn't all those years?" Roderick glanced at the others around the fire briefly. The other two had been listening silently. One was a woman, maybe 30, with dark braided hair and a thin scar across her cheek. The other was a younger man with quick eyes. Roderick looked back at the Princess Alara. "Your father is dying, Princess Alara. He has been sick for 3 months now. He has perhaps a year left if he is lucky." The Princess Alara made a small sound, like the air had been punched out of her. Then she went very still. Her gray eyes filled, but no tears fell. She just sat there. "The Empress poisoned him too," she whispered. "Not a question this time. A statement." Roderick nodded. "She has been poisoning him slowly, for years, so no one would notice. She wants her own son to take the throne. Your brother Caius is not capable of stopping her. He is too easily manipulated. With your father gone, she will rule through him in everything." "And me?" the Princess Alara asked. Her voice was steady, but only just. "Why am I a threat now? I was sent away. I was already gone. Why come after me out here?" Roderick hesitated. He glanced at the woman with the scar. She nodded once, very slightly. Some kind of permission passed between them. Roderick turned back to the princess. "Because your father changed his will. 3 weeks ago, in secret. He named you as his successor, Princess Alara. Not Caius. You. The Empress found out somehow. That is why you were exiled. That is why she sent assassins to finish what the exile started. As long as you are alive, your father's will stands. Caius cannot legally inherit. If you die in this forest, no one will ever know about the change. The Empress will burn the document, Caius will be crowned, and the empire will fall into her hands forever." The Princess Alara was silent for a very long moment. I held my breath in the brush. The whole camp held its breath. The fire crackled. The night kept moving around us, Saul. Then she lifted her head. Her gray eyes were burning now, not with tears, with something colder and harder than tears. With the look I had already started to recognize. "Then I am not dying in this forest," she said quietly. "I am going to live. I am going to return to the capital. I am going to take what my father left me, and I am going to make her pay." Roderick smiled for the first time. It was a small smile, tired, but real. "I had hoped you would say that, Princess Alara. We have been preparing for this for many years. There are others," he said. "Others loyal to your mother's memory. Others who saw what the Empress was doing and could not act alone. With you back, we have a chance. It will not be easy. The Empress has the army, she has the treasury, she has spies in every house in the empire. We have only our own loyalty and what little time we have." "And we have something else," the woman with the scar said. And she was looking past the fire, into the darkness, directly at the brush where I was crouching. "We have a friend." The whole camp turned to look where she was looking. Roderick stood up slowly. He did not reach for a weapon. He held up his hands, palms open, showing peace. "Come out," the woman said. "We saw you 10 minutes ago, Umberpard. We have been waiting for you to make up your mind about us. We do not mean the princess any harm." I held still. The system pinged. "Local entities aware of host presence. Detection avoidance failed. Confrontation imminent. Princess vitals unchanged. Risk, low to moderate." I considered my options. Running was always option 1. But the Princess Alara was here, and she had made a decision. She had chosen to trust these people for now, so I would too. I stepped out of the brush, slowly, into the firelight. 3 sets of eyes locked on me. The Princess Alara made a sound somewhere between relief and a sob. She stood up. She came around the fire to me. The others moved aside to let her pass, watching her carefully. She knelt in front of me and pressed her forehead against mine briefly. "You followed me," she whispered. "I knew you would. I told them you would. She straightened up and looked at Roderick. This is Shade. He saved my life last night. He is not a normal animal. He understands what we say. He understands more than he lets on. He's going to protect me. So if any of you have a problem with him being here... Her voice trailed off. The implication was clear. She had drawn a line in the sand. Whoever these people were, they had to accept me too, or this whole alliance was over. Roderick looked at me for a long moment. His sharp eyes did not blink. He was studying me the way he had probably studied threats for 30 years of military service. Then he nodded slowly. An umbrapard. I have only ever seen one before in my entire life. A long time ago. In your grandmother's chambers, Princess Alara. Did you know? The Princess Alara's eyes widened. My grandmother had one? Roderick nodded again. She did. A small old female who never left her side. The animal died the same week she did. Your grandmother always said the umbrapard chose her, not the other way around. I thought it was an old woman's metaphor. Now I'm not so sure about that anymore. He looked at me with something close to respect. You are welcome at our fire, Shade. Though something tells me you have already decided how welcome you wish to be. I padded forward and sat down beside the Princess Alara at the fire. The other two travelers moved over to make room. I could feel them watching me, but the tension had eased. The woman with the scar reached into a pack and pulled out a strip of dried meat. She tossed it onto the ground in front of me. A peace offering. I took it. We were good now. My name is Mira, the woman said. I served with your mother before she married your father, and we trained together when we were younger than you are now, Princess Alara. The younger man with the quick eyes spoke up next. I am Torin. My father served Captain Roderick in the Imperial Guard for years. He died the night the Empress moved. I have been with the captain ever since that day, he added quietly. He raised me, mostly, taught me everything I know about staying alive in dangerous places. The Princess Alara looked at each of them in turn. Then she nodded slowly. Then, we are all here for the same reason. Good. Tell me everything. Tell me how we win this. Roderick sat back down. The others did too. The fire was burning lower now. Someone fed it more wood. The conversation continued for hours. I listened to all of it. They had a plan. A real plan, not just a hope. They had been laying groundwork for years. They had contacts in 3 cities. They had access to a vault of funds the Empress did not know about. They had the names of nobles still loyal to the Princess Alara's mother. They had maps of the Imperial Palace from 16 years ago when Roderick had served there. They had information about the poisons the Empress used. They had records of letters intercepted and copied. They had the original copy of the King's revised will. The Princess Alara absorbed it all. Her face was sharp with focus. She asked questions, hard ones, the kind of questions a future ruler should ask of her advisors and her army. I watched her transform in front of the fire. The exhausted, dying girl from the forest had taken a back seat. The Princess Alara was something different now, something with teeth. I was watching the start of a queen, or the start of a war, depending on how this went. Probably both. Both were probably the same thing here in this story she was now in. By the time the conversation slowed, the sky was beginning to lighten in the east. Dawn was coming. We had been talking and planning for almost the whole night. Roderick stood and stretched. His old knees cracked. We move at midday, he said. We need to reach the safe house before the Imperial hunters spread their search. They will look in the wrong direction for at least 3 days, thanks to your friend Shade. But the Empress is not stupid. She will widen the search soon. We need to be gone by then. Where is the safe house? The Princess Alara asked. How far? Mira answered. 4 days north. A village called Greymore. We have allies there. We can rest, plan, and gather strength. From Greymore, we move to a larger city. From the city, we make contact with our nobles. From there, we move toward the capital. It will take months, Princess Alara, not weeks. The Princess Alara nodded. She did not look afraid of the timeline. She looked relieved by it. Months meant she had time to learn, to plan, to become whatever she needed to become. She turned to me. Shade, will you come with us all the way? I cannot promise we'll be safe. I cannot even promise we will all live to see Greymore. Never mind the capital. I gave her a slow blink. Then I stood up, walked 3 paces toward the edge of the camp, then turned and looked back at her. The same gesture I had used at the stream. Lead the way. I will follow. Her gray eyes shone slightly in the firelight. She nodded once. Then we are a team, the 5 of us, against the Empire. Good odds, all things considered. Mira laughed quietly. Princess Alara, your sense of humor is exactly like your mother's. I have not heard a joke like that in 16 years. I have missed it more than I knew. The Princess Alara smiled. The first real smile I had seen on her face. It was small, it was tired, but it was real. And for the first time, she looked like a girl her own age. We slept for a few hours taking shifts. I took the watch with Torn, the youngest. He talked to me softly while the others slept. He told me about his father, about his small dog from childhood. He was lonely, this boy Torn. He had been raised in the forest by Roderick. He had never had friends his own age. He had never been in a real city. He was 19, like the Princess Alara. I let him talk. I was a good listener now that I could not interrupt anyone. The cat-me was an excellent therapist, apparently. The system pinged once. Bond established. Torin, ally. Good. Another ally. I was building a list. The system seemed to be tracking it for me. By the time we got to the capital, I might have a small army of people tagged as friends. When the sun was fully up, we packed the camp. The Princess Alara could walk now, slowly, with the wound bandaged properly by Mira, who had real medical training apparently. We set out north. 5 companions and 1 extinct Shadow Leopard. The forest stretched ahead of us, vast and indifferent. The capital lay impossibly far away in the other direction. But for the first time since I had opened my eyes in this body, I felt like I had a direction, a plan, a purpose, a name, a princess, and people who would not abandon her along the way. The system flashed gently. New objective added. Reach Greymore Village. Estimated time, 4 days. Difficulty, moderate. Recommend skill development during travel. Skill development. Right. I had levels to gain, skills to unlock. I had been so busy surviving I had not even looked at my own status screen properly since the first night. I pulled up the system menu. Status, level 1. Experience, 34% toward level 2. Available skill points, 0. Current skills, Shadow Step, Silent Movement, Night Vision. Locked skills, listed in faint gray text, Shadow Cloak, Phase Step, Pack Bond, Beast Tongue, Shadow Strike, Mind Whisper, Hidden Step, Predator's Eye, and many more below. Mind Whisper, that one caught my attention. The description was grayed out, but I could read the title. The implication was that I might one day be able to communicate with my mind. That would solve approximately 90% of my current problems. I needed to level up. I needed to gain experience. I needed to find things to fight, hunt, and outsmart on this journey. 4 days to Greymore. Plenty of time to train. The system seemed to know what I was thinking. It pulsed approvingly. Goal recognized. Experience multiplier active during travel. Experience multiplier. Of course there was an experience multiplier. The universe really was running me through an RPG tutorial. I was either going to thrive or lose my mind in this world. And we walked all morning. The Princess Alara stayed near the middle of our small group, with Roderick in front and Mira behind. Torin walked with me on the flank. I was the scout. The system was helping me scan constantly. Every threat, every prey animal, every herb of value got tagged in my vision. I was building a mental map of this forest, like a video game mini-map. Around midday I caught the scent of something interesting. Not a threat exactly, but not exactly friendly either. The system flashed yellow text in my vision. Beast presence detected. Distance, 200 meters east. Threat level, moderate. Species, Frostfang lynx. A lynx? Smaller than me, supposedly. Possibly bite-sized. Frostfang lynx. The name sounded cold and bitey. The system gave me more information in faint text. Smaller than host. Aggressive territorial. Solo hunter type. Recommend avoidance unless engaged directly. Combat experience available if defeated. Combat experience. So fighting this thing would actually give me a level boost. Combat experience. So fighting this thing would give me a level boost. The catch was that I was still level 1 and the lynx was probably not. But I had Shadow Step, and I had something to prove. I glanced at the Princess Alara. She was walking alongside Mira, talking quietly. She did not need me right next to her at the moment. I had a small window to take a side quest. I peeled off from the group silently. Torin noticed. He gave me a curious look but did not say anything. He trusted me. The Princess Alara had vouched for me with the others. That was enough for him. I padded east through the underbrush. The lynx's scent grew stronger. The system updated. Engagement imminent. Combat readiness limited. Recommend ambush approach. Ambush approach. The same thing I had done with the assassins. Hit hard, hit fast. Retreat to shadow. Repeat as needed. I knew this dance. The cat me knew it even better than I did. I climbed onto a thick, low branch and waited. The lynx was hunting. It moved like I did. Low. Silent. Eyes fixed on the ground. It was tracking a small deer that did not know yet. It passed beneath me without seeing me. Pale gray fur. Tufted ears. About 2/3 my size, but built like solid muscle. The kind of cat that punched above its weight class. I dropped. Silent movement held until I hit it. My claws caught its shoulder. We both rolled into the underbrush. The lynx hissed and twisted faster than I had expected. It came up on its feet immediately, faced me. Its eyes were yellow, wild. It did not run from me, even though I was bigger. It was deciding whether to fight me or flee. The system pinged. Combat engagement, skill check active, watch for opening. The lynx lunged. I activated Shadow Step. Disappeared, reappeared behind it, swiped its hindquarters. The lynx screamed. It was a horrible sound. But it was not a death sound. It was an angry sound. It spun toward me again. This was not going to be quick or easy. We circled each other, both bleeding lightly, both watching. The system kept updating. Energy, 70%. Skill, Shadow Step ready. Caution, Predator showing experience. The lynx fainted left. I almost fell for it. It came in right. Its claws caught my ear and tore it slightly. I felt the sharp burn of pain. I yowled and pulled back fast. I needed to end this. I had bitten off more than I could chew. The lynx was faster than I had assumed, more experienced. I was relying entirely on Shadow Step to survive. I Shadow Stepped to the high branch above it. The lynx looked up. It saw me. It crouched to spring up after me. I dropped down again at the exact moment it leapt. We collided in midair. My weight was greater. We hit the ground hard. I rolled on top of it, my jaw clamped on the back of its neck before I even thought about it. Pure leopard instinct. The lynx went still beneath me. It was alive, but stunned. I held the bite. The system flashed green. Submission detected. Mercy option available. Mercy! The lynx had given up the fight. I held the bite for another moment. Then I released slowly. The lynx slipped out from under me, eyes wide, fur bristling everywhere. It backed away. Then it turned and ran, fast, into the underbrush, gone within seconds. The system gave a soft chime. Experience earned. Wisdom bonus showed mercy. A wisdom bonus. The system was rewarding me for not killing when I did not have to. I appreciated that. The cat me liked the fight. The human me liked the mercy more. My experience bar jumped from 34% to 91% of the way to level 2. I was almost there. One more fight, one more scenario, and I would level up. I padded back to the group. My ear was bleeding a little. My side was scratched, but I was alive. The Princess Alara looked at me when I rejoined the group. Her gray eyes narrowed. "What did you do, Shade?" she asked, not really expecting an answer. "Why are you bleeding?" Mira walked over and crouched down to look at my ear. She had her medical kit out already. "Ah, fight wound," Mira said. "Recent. Maybe 10 minutes ago. He took on something he should not have by the look of these claw marks. But he won. Look how relaxed he is." The Princess Alara gave me a look that was somewhere between exasperated and impressed. "You're going to give me gray hair before I'm 20, Shade. I hope you know that." I rumbled at her softly. The cat version of, "Sorry, not sorry." She rolled her eyes and turned away, but she could not quite hide the smile that pulled at her mouth. Mira cleaned my ear with some kind of pungent salve. It stung. I held still. She worked fast and efficiently. When she was done, she rubbed the spot between my ears affectionately. "You are an interesting one, Umbrapard," she said softly to me alone. "I served with the Princess Alara's mother for 10 years. Your kind chose her too. Well, we never figured out why." She looked at me with those scarred but kind eyes. "If you ever figure out what we are missing, give us a sign. We have been wondering for 2 decades now what you cats actually see in us." I rumbled at her again. She laughed. She stood up and rejoined the group. And we started walking again. The afternoon sun slanted gold through the trees overhead. We walked the rest of the day. By the time we made camp again, I was exhausted but content. The system pinged. "Level up imminent? Trigger condition pending." Pending. Annoying, but fine. I would get there. We made camp in a small clearing. Torin built the fire. Mira cooked. Roderick and the Princess Alara talked quietly together. The Princess Alara was asking him about her father now, about what kind of king he had been, about what she would need to know to take his place if it came to that. I listened from a distance. I learned more about this empire in 2 hours of their conversation than I had in 2 days of trying to piece things together on my own. The empire was called Veyron. It had been founded 300 years ago by the Princess Alara's great-great-great-grandfather. He had united 6 smaller kingdoms. The current king, the Princess Alara's father, was the 6th Veyron monarch. He was widely respected but not loved. He had ruled for 28 years, mostly justly. The Empress, his second wife, was the Princess Alara's stepmother. Her name was Celine. She had been a noble from the southern provinces, beautiful, calculating, ambitious. She had married the king after his first wife died. The Princess Alara's mother, the woman everyone had loved. The woman who had been poisoned by almost certainly Celine herself. The Empress had given the king one son, the Princess Alara's half-brother, Caius, 18 years old, soft, easily led. Currently being groomed to be Celine's puppet on the throne, the Princess Alara had no full siblings. She had been an only child to her mother. The Empress had wanted no competition for her own son's claim, hence the convenient deaths over the years. There had been aunts, uncles, cousins, most of them gone now, some by accident, some by illness, some by simply disappearing in the night, never to be heard from again. By the end of the conversation, I had a much clearer picture. The Empress Celine was not just dangerous, she was patient, methodical, and extremely difficult to oppose openly. She does not lose direct confrontations, Roderick said quietly. She does not have them. She moves indirectly, through agents, through poison, through whispered words at the right ears. The way to defeat her is not on a battlefield. The way is to gather enough proof of her crimes that she cannot lie her way out, enough nobles to force a public reckoning. That is the only path that ends with you on the throne instead of in another grave, Princess Alara. His voice was very quiet now. "I am sorry, there is no easier way." The Princess Alara was silent for a long time. The fire crackled. Far off, an owl hooted. Then she nodded slowly. "Then we gather proof. We gather nobles. One step at a time. Tomorrow, Greymore. Day after, the next safe house. The day after, the next. Eventually the capital. Eventually the Empress. I am not going anywhere until this is done." Roderick smiled tiredly. "Spoken like your mother's daughter, Princess Alara." He stood up. "Get some sleep. I will take the first watch. Mira takes the second. You sleep through to morning." The Princess Alara nodded. She lay down near the fire. She pulled her cloak around her. Within minutes, her breathing slowed and evened. She was asleep almost instantly. I padded over and lay down beside her, like the first night, my warmth against her side, my ears swiveling at every sound, my system scanning constantly for threats. Roderick looked at me from across the fire. He shook his head slowly with a faint smile. She is going to outlive me by 50 years, that girl. And you, I think, will be there for all of it. I closed my eyes. The night settled. The forest breathed. Somewhere in the darkness, the Imperial hunters were still searching for us. Somewhere in the capital, the Empress was waiting. But for tonight, we had this: a fire, a plan. A small, fierce princess and her Shadow Leopard and 3 loyal companions. She had only just met, but already trusted with her life. The system pulsed softly. One final message before going quiet. Threshold reached. Level up available at next sleep cycle. Skill choice required upon waking. Sleep well, host. Sleep well, indeed. The system was getting almost polite now. I closed my eyes. The fire popped. The Princess Alara shifted in her sleep beside me and murmured something soft. It sounded like my name, just a soft murmur in her sleep. Shade? Or maybe I was imagining it because I wanted to hear it. Either way, I pressed closer to her side, but before I could fully drift off, my system flashed red one more time. Caution. Unfamiliar presence approaching the camp. Distance, 90 meters. Single entity, not animal. Drop a comment below if you are enjoying Shade's journey so far. And tell me honestly, do you trust Captain Roderick? Or is that gray beard hiding something we have not seen yet? My ears swiveled toward the sound. 90 meters out. Single entity, moving carefully through the trees. Not animal, the system said, which meant human, or something close. I lifted my head from the Princess Alara's side without making a sound. Roderick was on watch across the fire. I caught his eye. I tilted my head toward the darkness. The old man's posture changed immediately. He had not survived 16 years in this forest by ignoring warnings from the things that watched the shadows. For him, he stood up slowly. He picked up his sword without drawing it. He nodded at me. We moved together toward the perimeter, him on the path, me sliding into the underbrush. The system updated as we moved. Single entity, bipedal, carrying weapon, posture, hesitant, threat level, low to moderate, possibly scout, possibly civilian. Caution, possibly civilian. That was new. The forest was not exactly a tourist destination. Civilians did not just wander in here at night unless something had gone very wrong somewhere. I crept closer through the trees. The figure was 40 meters away now, moving slowly, stumbling occasionally. The smell hit me first. Blood, fresh blood, lots of it. Whoever this was, they were wounded. The system updated. Subject injury detected. Severity, moderate. Blood loss ongoing. Combat capacity, minimal. So not a threat. I patted back to Roderick. I gave him the soft chest hum that I had decided meant non-threat, but interesting. He nodded slightly. We waited. The figure kept stumbling closer. It emerged from the darkness into the faint glow of our distant campfire. A young man, maybe 20 years old, dark traveling cloak, one hand pressed against his side. He looked exactly like every fantasy character I'd ever played in an RPG who shows up at the end bleeding and says, "I have a quest for you." I had been here before, in pixel form. He saw Roderick. He froze. His good hand went to his sword hilt automatically. Then his eyes registered the firelight behind us and the absence of weapons drawn at him. "Are you with the Queen's faction?" he gasped out. "Please, tell me you are with the Queen's faction. I have been running for 2 days." His voice cracked on the last word. Roderick studied him carefully. His sharp old eyes missed nothing. "Why would I be with the Queen's faction, traveler? The Queen has been dead for 16 years. The young man's face crumpled with relief. "That is the code phrase," he whispered. "If you knew that, you are one of ours." He took 2 more steps forward and collapsed. Roderick caught him before he hit the ground. The young man's weight sagged into the old captain's arms. Blood trickled out from beneath his pressed hand and onto the leaves. "Mira!" Roderick called softly back toward the camp. The woman appeared within seconds. She took one look at the wound, and her medical kit was open before she had even knelt down. I padded back to the fire. The Princess Alara was awake now. She was sitting up. Her gray eyes were sharp and alert. Torin had woken up too and was already gathering more wood. The whole camp had been awake within 30 seconds of the stranger's collapse. These were not people who slept deeply. They had been training for this moment for years. Mira worked fast. She cut the young man's tunic away from the wound. It was bad, but not immediately fatal. A sword cut across the ribs. He had been losing blood for hours. She cleaned it, packed it with some kind of herb poultice, and bandaged it tight. The young man came back to consciousness during the bandaging. He gritted his teeth and held still. When she was done, he looked around. His eyes found the Princess Alara. His face went still. Then he tried to bow from where he was lying down, which made his wound bleed again. "Stop that!" Mira snapped. "She's not formally crowned. You do not bow in a forest. Save the formalities for when she is on the actual throne, you absolute idiot." The young man laughed weakly. Then he winced. "Apologies, Mira. Force of habit. My father taught me too well." Mira's face changed. She stared at him for a moment. "Whose son are you?" she asked quietly. The young man met her eyes. "Idrin's. He died last month. The Empress's men. They came for him in his sleep. I escaped only because I was out hunting." Mira sat back on her heels. Her hand went to her mouth briefly. Then she lowered it. Her face had gone professional again, but I could see the loss in her eyes from where I sat. Edrin was a good man, she said quietly. He served with your mother also, Princess Alara, long ago. He was one of the few who refused to swear loyalty to the Empress. He held out for 16 years. The Empress finally moved against him. That means she is consolidating. She's killing the last of the old guard. Time is running out faster than we thought. The young man tried to sit up. Mira pushed him gently back down. My name is Kale, he said. I came to find Captain Roderick. My father gave me a message before they killed him. Roderick crouched down beside him. What was the message, Kale? The young man Kale closed his eyes briefly, gathering himself. When he opened them again, they were clearer. The Empress has moved up her timeline. The king has 6 months, not a year. She is poisoning him faster now. She wants the coronation of Caius within the year, not after. My father intercepted a letter from the Empress to a southern lord. She's buying loyalty with promises of land. Land that does not belong to her to give away. She is desperate. He copied the letter. Then he hid the copy. He told me where before they came for him. Captain, I have evidence. Real evidence. A letter in her own handwriting describing her plans. The whole camp went still. Roderick's old face hardened. Where is the letter, Kale? Is it safe? The young man nodded slowly. Yes, in a place no one would think to look. I will take you there. The Princess Alara had been watching all of this silently. Now she spoke. Her voice was quiet but clear. Kyle, I'm sorry about your father. He died protecting me, in a sense. The young man Kale's eyes filled. He would have called that an honor, Princess Alara. Truly? He spoke of your mother often. He would have served you the same way if he had lived to see it. The Princess Alara nodded. She did not try to comfort him beyond that. She knew somehow that empty words were not what he needed. She just let him grieve in peace. We added another companion to our little group that night. 6 of us now, plus me. Kale needed rest and time to heal before he could travel. Roderick decided we would stay one more day. While Kale slept, the rest of us planned. Roderick was modifying our route. We would still go to Greymore, but now we had a detour to make on the way, to retrieve the letter. The location Kale had given them was about a day east of our current path. It would add 2 days to our journey, but the evidence was worth it. A letter from the Empress was gold. I lay near the fire and listened. I could feel the experience meter in my system humming gently, ready to tip over. One more event, one more trigger, and I would level up. The system was being patient. It seemed to understand that I was deep in social development right now, building bonds, gathering information about this world. The skills these things would unlock might end up being more useful than combat ones in the long run. Friends were a kind of armor I could not buy or fight for directly. The night passed without further alarms. Dawn arrived. Kyle was feverish but alive. Mira said he was strong enough to travel by midday, as long as we moved slowly. I spent the morning at the perimeter, scouting. My system had been mapping the area constantly during the night. I knew where the streams ran, where the prey paths crossed. I knew where the Imperial hunters were searching. Still west of us, still committed to my false trail from yesterday. They had not figured out yet that they had been deceived, but they would, soon. The system showed me their estimated position. They were rapidly running out of credible terrain to search to the west. By tomorrow, they would have to turn east again. We needed to be far away by then. The Princess Alara understood. By the time the sun was high, she was helping Torrin pack the camp. She was moving better, healing fast. She had energy reserves I had not seen before. Whatever fire had been lit in her by Captain Roderick's story last night, it was still burning. She moved like someone who had a future to fight for. We set out at midday. 6 humans and 1 Shadow Leopard, moving northeast toward Greymore with a detour planned. Kale was on a litter that Roderick and Torrin took turns carrying. The Princess Alara walked beside the litter, talking quietly with Kale when he was awake. She asked him about his father, about his mother who had died years ago, about his life. She was learning, she was building. She was finding out who would be in her court when she had one. She was starting to act like a queen long before she had a crown. I scouted ahead. My system pulsed with each new discovery. Animal trails, water sources, defensible positions in case of attack, potential ambush spots if we needed to set one ourselves. The forest changed slowly as we moved north. The trees got taller, the undergrowth got thinner. The sounds shifted, new bird calls I had not heard before, different insect patterns. Around mid-afternoon, the system flashed yellow. Threat detected, distance 400 meters, multiple, bipedal, armored, stationary, possibly checkpoint. A checkpoint. Imperial soldiers, probably, watching the main roads and trails. I padded back to the group quickly. I caught Roderick's eye. I gestured north toward the threat. He understood immediately. He held up a hand. The group stopped. Mira lowered the litter. Kale, who was awake at the moment, gripped his sword hilt with his good hand. How many? Roderick whispered to me. I tapped my paw 4 times. He nodded. Imperial, standard patrol size. We need to go around them. Shade, can you find us a route? I nodded. I padded back into the brush. The system mapped a path that would take us about 1 kilometer out of our way, but keep us downwind and out of sight. I returned and led the group along it. We moved silently. Even Kale on the litter managed to stay quiet, despite his fever. The Princess Alara walked behind me, watching every step I made and matching it. We slipped past the checkpoint within an hour. The soldiers never saw us. They never even suspected we had been there. Roderick clapped my shoulder once when we were clear. Good work, Shade, he murmured. I have not had a scout that good in 20 years. You're worth your weight in gold. The system pinged. Bond level increased. Roderick. Ally Tier 2. The afternoon stretched on. We kept moving. The Princess Alara was tired but did not complain. Kale drifted in and out of consciousness. Mira watched his bandage for fresh blood. Around evening we reached a small ravine. The system flagged it. Natural shelter, defensible position, recommended campsite. I padded down into it. I looked back at the group. Roderick nodded. We made camp. Mira changed Kale's bandages. The wound looked cleaner, less red. He would live, probably if no infection set in over the next few days. We ate a quiet meal. Cold rations, no fire tonight. We were too close to the Imperial checkpoint to risk smoke. The Princess Alara ate beside me, sharing scraps the way she had at the stream. When everyone else was asleep except for Torn on watch, the Princess Alara turned to face me. Her gray eyes caught the moonlight that filtered into the ravine. Shade, she whispered. I have been thinking about you, about what you really are. I tilted my head. She was working something out in her head, and I let her get there at her own pace. You understand language, she said. You answer questions with your paws. You make tactical decisions. You move like a soldier, not a wild animal. You are not just a leopard. She paused. Her fingers brushed through the fur on my neck thoughtfully. I have been wondering if maybe you were a person, before. If maybe you remember being human. My heart skipped. The system pinged faintly. Detection event possible. Caution recommended in response. I did not know how to respond. I could not lie with my paw taps. I looked at her. I held her gaze. Then, very slowly, I nodded once. Up and down, a clear yes. Her breath caught. Her hand stilled on my fur. She had not really expected to be right. Oh, she whispered. Oh, Shade. Her voice cracked. I am so sorry, whoever you were, whatever happened to you. She pressed her forehead against mine for a long moment. Can you understand me right now? Fully? She asked when she pulled back. I nodded again. She took a shaky breath. Are you in pain? Are you trapped? Do you need help? I shook my head slowly. No pain, not trapped. Or at least not trapped in any way she could fix. I tried to communicate with my eyes that I was okay with this, that I had made peace. She studied my face. You chose this. You chose to stay with me, even though you could just leave, even though I am dragging you into a war that is not yours. Yes. I nodded. Yes. She pressed her hand against the side of my face. Her palm was warm. Her gray eyes were wet, but not crying. Then I will protect you too, Shade, whoever you were before. You have a place with me now. You have a home when I have one again. I will not forget what you have done for me, not ever. Not in any life I have left to live. The system flashed gently. Bond level increased. Princess Alara, Ally Tier 3, new skills available. Choose carefully. Tier 3. The bond was getting stronger. I closed my eyes briefly and pulled up my skill menu. 3 new skills had appeared. Mind Whisper. Send single short thought to bonded ally. Range, 10 meters. Beast Tongue. Communicate basic concepts with other animals. And the third one. Pack Bond. Increase combat coordination with bonded allies in same group. I needed to choose. Combat coordination would be useful for fights. Beast Tongue could help me find allies in the forest. But Mind Whisper would let me actually talk to the Princess Alara. I selected Mind Whisper. The system pulsed approvingly. Skill acquired. Cooldown 5 minutes between uses. Energy cost, low. Use wisely. The Princess Alara may be startled. Maybe startled. Yeah, probably. I'd not exactly warned her this was about to happen. But she had just told me she would protect me whoever I was. The timing felt right. I focused on the Princess Alara. I imagined the words. I sent them through whatever shadow magic the system used to make this possible. I sent a single short message into her mind. I sent the words gently. 2 simple ones, wrapped in everything I could not say out loud. Thank you, Alara. Just her name. Just the smallest piece of gratitude. She gasped audibly. Her hand flew to her temple. Her gray eyes went wide. She looked at me. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She just stared at me, mouth slightly open. Did you just... she whispered. Did you just speak in my head? Was that you? Shade? I nodded. Her eyes filled with tears for the first time since I had met her. Real tears. Oh, she breathed. Oh. She pressed both hands to her face for a moment. Then she lowered them and looked at me with the kind of wonder I had not seen on her face yet. Say something else, she whispered. Please. Anything. Just so I know I'm not losing my mind out here. Say something else, please. I waited for the cooldown to finish. The system showed me a small timer. 3 minutes remaining. The Princess Ilara waited too. Patient. Her hand never left my fur, like she was afraid I would disappear if she let go. When the cooldown ended, I sent her another message. Short. Because the energy cost was higher than I had expected, and I felt suddenly tired in a way I had not before. I focused. I sent her the truth, as simply as I could manage. I was a man. I died. Now I am Shade. The whole story of my second life, compressed into 8 words. The Princess Alara closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, they were calmer. Wet, but calm. She nodded slowly. I understand, or at least I think I do. My grandmother used to say the Umbra Pard were souls in transition, spirits who needed one more life to complete some purpose. She thought it was poetry. Maybe it was not. She smiled at me. Small, sad, beautiful. Whoever you were, Shade, you ended up in the right place, with the right person. I'm glad it is you and not someone else. I rumbled softly. Cat affection. The most I could manage on no remaining message budget. She laughed quietly. I know. We will figure out how to talk later. For now, just rest. She lay down beside me. She pulled her cloak over us both. She closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed and evened. She was asleep within minutes, exhausted by everything. I lay awake longer. My mind was still racing. I had just told another person, a person I had only known for 2 days, the most important secret of my second life. She had taken it in stride. She had treated it like a piece of information to integrate, not a horror to flinch away from. She had accepted me. She had named me. She had told me I had a place with her always. I had been a low-ranking game tester 2 days ago. I had died on a wet road in the rain. Now I had a princess who treated me like a chosen companion. I had a system. I had allies. I had a war. The forest breathed around me. The 2 moons shone down on the ravine. Far off, an owl called. Closer, Torrance shifted at his watch position. The whole camp slept peacefully finally for once. I closed my eyes. The system pinged softly one last time. Sleep cycle. Energy regeneration in progress. Level 2, 10%. Continue building bonds, host. You are doing well? Doing well, I would take that. From a system that had originally given me 12% survival odds, doing well was significant praise. I let myself rest fully for the first time. The next day, we moved at first light. Kale was stronger. He could sit up on the litter now and direct us through the woods toward where his father had hidden the letter. We traveled for 3 days, past abandoned hunting trails, through a section of forest where the trees grew strangely twisted, past a small dark pond where the water did not reflect the sky. The world here was older than I understood. There were magics in this empire that the system did not explain to me yet. There were places where my skin prickled for no reason at all. The Princess Alara walked beside me most of the way. We did not speak through the mind link often. The cooldown was long and the energy cost made me tired afterward. But when we did, we said important things. She told me about her mother, about the way she remembered her, the way she still missed her after 16 years, about her grandmother too. I told her briefly about being Ethan, about being a game tester, about a place called Earth where there were no swords and no magic, but plenty of other ways to feel trapped. She listened with the focused intensity she gave everything. She did not laugh. She did not ask me to prove it. She just absorbed the information and made it part of how she saw me. By the 3rd day, we had reached the place Kale had described. A small overgrown shrine at the base of a hill. Old, forgotten. The statues inside were worn smooth by weather. Kale, who could walk now with a limp, led us inside. There was a hollow space behind one of the statues. A loose stone. He pried it out with his sword tip. Behind it, a small leather pouch. Inside the pouch was a letter, sealed with the Empress's personal sigil. Roderick took it with shaking hands. He read it silently, slowly. His face changed as he read. When he was done, he looked up at the Princess Alara. His old eyes had something new in them, not just hope, something harder, something that felt almost like certainty for the first time. This is more than enough, he said quietly. This is more than enough, Princess Alara. If the right nobles see this letter, the Empress is finished. There will be no way for her to lie this away. She names 3 southern lords by name. She promises them lands. She references the king's poisoning explicitly. She thinks it is private correspondence. She was wrong. He folded the letter carefully and put it in a secure pouch at his belt. We have her. We have her, Princess. We just need to get this to the right people. We just need to live long enough to do it. The Princess Alara took a deep breath. She looked at the letter for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. Then let us get to Greymore as fast as we can. Let us get this letter where it needs to go, she said. Let us end this woman's reign before she ends another innocent life. Her gray eyes burned hard in the shrine light. We left the shrine. We turned north again. Greymore was now only 2 days away. The system updated my map. New objective. Reach Greymore village safely with evidence intact. Difficulty, high. Many enemies will be searching for this evidence soon. Be ready. Host? Ready. I would try. I had skills now. I had bonds. I had reasons. I had levels to earn. We walked into the evening. The Princess Alara walked beside me. Her hand brushed my back occasionally, like she was reassuring herself I was still there. I was. I would be. That night we made camp in a hollow tree large enough to shelter all of us. A miracle of nature, really. We slept rotating watches. Torrin took the first, Mira the second, Roderick the third. I did not sleep deeply. Something felt off. The system kept twitching at the edge of my awareness. Not pinging properly, just twitching. Like it sensed something but could not identify it. Around midnight, the twitching became a flash. Anomaly detected. Source unknown. Direction unclear. Recommend extreme caution. Possible magical signature. Magic. The system had never used that word before. Magic. So there was magic in this world, beyond the system itself, beyond the Umbra Pard legend. Real, functional magic that did things. And something magical was nearby, or watching, or moving toward us through whatever medium magic moved through in this world. The system could not tell me which. I lifted my head slowly. The hollow tree was quiet. Torrin sat at the entrance, alert. Mira and Roderick slept. Kyle slept. The Princess Alara slept beside me, her hand on my back. I looked toward the opening of the hollow. The forest outside was dark, 2 moons through the branches above, wind moving through leaves, nothing visibly wrong with the world, but the system kept flashing. The signature kept pulsing. Whatever was out there was not coming closer, but it was not leaving either. It was watching, studying us, waiting. I shifted closer to the Princess Alara. I let my own breathing slow. I let my eyes half close while keeping my ears working. Whoever you are out there, I thought, I see you. If you mean us harm, you should know one thing. I'm very protective of this one, and I have skills I have not even unlocked yet. So consider that before you make your move. The signature pulsed once more. Then it faded. The system relaxed. Anomaly dispersed. Origin unconfirmed. Continue monitoring. I would. I absolutely would. All night long. The hours dragged on. I dozed in short bursts, but always with one ear open. The Princess Alara slept deeply beside me, her breathing slow and steady against my fur. The system hummed quietly in the background. Tracking, watching, scanning. Whatever the magical signature had been, it did not return that night. But I knew it would come back. Things that watched from a distance always came back eventually. That was a rule in every story I had ever read. The Watcher always became part of the story sooner or later. Dawn came gray and cold. A thin mist hung between the trees. The Princess Alara woke slowly, blinking up at me. Her hand was still tangled in my fur from the night before. You did not sleep, did you? She whispered. I gave her a slow blink. Not enough budget yet for mind speech. The cooldown was longer if I had used it the day before, apparently. You watched over me all night again, she said softly. Shade, you cannot keep doing this. You will exhaust yourself. You need rest as much as I do, maybe more than I do. I rumbled at her. The cat equivalent of, tell that to the magical thing watching us through the trees, princess. She sighed. She understood I would not change my behavior. She kissed the top of my head briefly, the first time she had done that. My fur stood up slightly with surprise. She laughed softly when she saw it. Sorry. Bad habit, maybe. I used to do that to my mother's dog when I was small. I forgot animals do not always like it. I rumbled again, more gently. The cat translation. That was fine, actually. The Princess Alara stood. She helped the others wake. Kale was much stronger this morning. He could walk fully now without the limp. Mira said he was past the danger zone. The whole group felt different today. The letter had changed something. It was no longer just survival. It was no longer just fleeing toward an unknown safe house. It was a mission. We had a weapon now, a piece of paper, but a piece of paper that could topple an empress if it reached the right eyes. We just had to live long enough to deliver it. We set out. The mist did not lift even after the sun cleared the treetops. It hung between the trunks like a curtain. The system pinged. Visibility reduced. Caution advised. I scouted ahead. The reduced visibility was bad for me too, but my night vision and my system map compensated. I could see threats further than my eyes alone would let me. Around mid-morning, the system flashed. Movement detected. Distance. 200 meters. Group of 4. Imperial markings detected. Patrol formation. Active search pattern. Imperial soldiers. Closer than they should have been. The hunters had finally figured out the false trail. They were sweeping east now. We had less time than I had thought. I padded back to Roderick. I gestured north. He read my urgency immediately. How many? He murmured. I tapped 4 times. He nodded. Can we go around? I tilted my head sideways. Maybe. Maybe not. The patrol was on our route. The forest north of us narrowed into a defile we could not avoid easily. The system pulled up the terrain map for me. It showed one realistic option. A small game trail above the defile, along a ridge. Steep, tight, but doable. Out of sight of the patrol. I padded toward it and looked back. Roderick followed. The group followed him. The Princess Alara walked carefully, watching every step. Kale, still wounded, watched her in turn, ready to catch her if she slipped. We climbed the ridge slowly, silently. The mist hit us perfectly. The patrol passed beneath us, never looking up. I heard their voices briefly before they faded out of range. Nothing this far east. The hunters must have lost the scent days ago. A second voice answered. The Empress will not be pleased. We were promised the princess by now. A third voice. She has not been seen anywhere. Some are saying she got away clean, or she is dead in the forest already and the wolves got her before we could collect proof. The fourth voice was angrier. Either way, our orders are clear. Find her or find her body. We do not return without one or the other. The Empress made that very clear to all of us. They moved on. We waited until their voices had completely faded. Then we kept climbing. By the time we crossed the ridge and dropped down the other side, it was past midday. I padded ahead again. The system showed the way clear for the next several kilometers. We made good time. The Princess Alara, despite her wound, kept up impressively well. She was building stamina. The forest was teaching her things no palace could have. By the time we reached Greymore, she was going to be a different person than the one I had met that night. She would still be the same girl, of course. Still the one who had calmly told me to eat her quickly because she was tired. But she would be something more too, forged by this journey. By evening, we had crossed 2 more streams and skirted around another small Imperial outpost. The system kept me informed of every threat before we got close to it. It was working. I had become Roderick's perfect scout, the group's perfect early warning system, the Princess Alara's perfect shadow. I had a purpose, and I was good at it. We made camp again in a hidden hollow, no fire, cold rations. The Princess Alara sat beside me as the others slept in shifts. Her hand stayed in my fur the whole time. "Tomorrow we reach Greymore," she whispered. "Roderick says by midday if we move fast. Then we deliver the letter. Then we plan our next move, and then we keep moving." I rumbled softly in agreement. She smiled. She closed her eyes. Within minutes, her breathing slowed. I stayed awake. The forest was quiet now. Too quiet, actually. The system pinged. "Magical signature returning. Closer this time. Distance, 40 meters. Stationary observing. Not hostile yet. Unknown intent, 40 meters. Whatever it was, it had followed us all day. Through the mist, past the Imperial patrols, across the ridge. It had been with us the entire journey, and I had not detected it once. I lifted my head slowly. The hollow was dark. Torrin was on watch at the entrance, alert. He had not noticed anything either. The signature was magical, not physical. Invisible. I focused. I sent a thought outward into the dark. The cooldown was finally up. I had one message ready. I sent it to the forest itself, hoping the Watcher would hear me. I sent the words quietly but clearly into the night, focused on the magical signature out there in the dark trees. 2 simple words, carrying everything I could not say. "Show yourself." For a long moment, nothing happened. The night kept breathing. Then the system pulsed once. Then again. Then a soft voice answered me, inside my own head, not from outside. "Soon, little shade. Soon. But first, your princess must reach Greymore. First, the letter must be delivered. Then we will meet. Then you will learn what you really are." The voice faded. The signature dispersed. The system went calm again. I stared into the dark for a long time, processing what had just happened. Someone had answered me. Drop a comment below and tell me who you think is watching Shade. A friend? An enemy? A god? An ancient Umbrapard? Tell me your wildest theory and I will read every single one. I did not sleep that night. The voice in my head had been too calm, too patient, too aware of who I was and the Princess Alara was. Whoever was watching us knew us. That should have terrified me. And it did, a little. But it also intrigued me. The voice had said, "You will learn what you really are," which meant there was something to learn. I had been operating under the assumption that I was a transmigrated game tester in the body of a magical leopard. End of mystery. Now, apparently, there was more to it than that. The system stayed quiet for the rest of the night. The signature did not return. Whatever the Watcher was, it had said what it came to say. Now it would wait until Greymore. Dawn arrived clear and cold. The mist of the previous day had burned off completely. The 2 moons faded into a pale blue sky as the sun climbed above the eastern tree line gradually. The Princess Alara woke with her hand still in my fur. She blinked up at me sleepily. Her face was less drawn now. The food and rest were working. She looked almost healthy. "Good morning, Shade," she murmured. Then she paused. She studied my face more carefully. "You look like you have something to tell me, or like you saw a ghost in the night." I waited for the cooldown on Mind Whisper to finish. The system showed me 30 seconds left. The Princess Alara watched my face the whole time, patient, knowing something was coming. When the timer cleared, I sent her a careful message. Something spoke to me last night. In my head. It knew us. It said we will meet in Greymore. Her gray eyes widened slowly. "What kind of something?" she whispered back, leaning closer to me. I shook my head once. I did not know. She frowned. "Friendly or hostile?" I tilted my head. "Hard to tell yet." "But it spoke to you," she said. "Not me. That means it has something specific with you. Something about you, maybe." She was thinking through this faster than I had been able to. My grandmother used to say the Umbrapard had connections to old magics, older than the Empire, older than the human kingdoms entirely. Maybe whatever spoke is part of all that. She sat up slowly. She stretched her arms. She winced slightly when her side wound pulled. "We will find out in Greymore. For now, let us get there alive. One thing at a time." The others were waking. Roderick checked the perimeter. Mira packed up her medical supplies. Torrin killed the small embers from the night before with handfuls of dirt and leaves. Kale moved easily this morning. The wound was healing well. He still favored the cut side, but he could carry his own pack now. He even helped Mira lift her bag onto her shoulders. We set out toward Greymore. The forest thinned slowly as we walked. Trees gave way to scrubland. Scrubland gave way to fields. We were approaching the edge of civilization at last. The Princess Alara walked at the front of the group with Roderick. The old captain was telling her about Greymore, about who lived there, about who we would meet when we arrived. "The village is small, maybe 400 people," Roderick was saying. "The headman is an old friend, Master Galen. He served the Imperial Court in his youth and retired years ago. He has been one of our most loyal supporters since then. He has hidden agents in the village for years, watching the Imperial roads. He will know we are coming before we even knock. His daughter Lyra is the village healer. She trained in the capital. She will look at your wound, Princess Alara. Mira has done well, but a proper healer will speed your recovery up. There are others, Roderick continued. Soldiers who left the Imperial service after the Empress took control. Merchants who pass through and bring us news. Farmers loyal to your mother. They are all waiting to see you. They have waited 16 years. Some have grandchildren now who only know your name as a story. They will weep when they meet you in person. The Princess Alara was silent for a while as they walked. Then she said quietly, I do not know if I can be what they need me to be, Roderick. I have lived as a forgotten princess all my life. I have no army, no experience ruling, no real understanding of court politics. I have books and stories and the dim memory of my mother. That is not enough to lead a rebellion. Roderick stopped walking. He turned to face her. The whole group stopped behind him. His old eyes were soft but firm when they met hers. He spoke gently but with absolute certainty. Princess Alara, listen to me carefully. You do not need to be ready. You only need to be willing. We will teach you the rest. We have spent 16 years preparing for this moment. You have something the Empress will never have. You have the love of these people. They will follow you because they remember your mother, because they believe in what she stood for. And because, frankly, the Empress has made their lives miserable. Taxes have tripled. Soldiers harass the merchants. The southern provinces are starving. Your existence alone is hope. The Princess Alara nodded slowly. Her gray eyes were wet, but she did not cry. She just nodded, accepting the weight he was placing on her. She had been preparing for this also, in her way. We started walking again. We crested a small hill an hour later. Below us, in a shallow valley, sat Greymoor. The village was small, stone houses with thatched roofs, a church spire, a few farms scattered around the edges, fields of grain stretching out to the south, smoke rising from chimneys, children playing in the central square, a market day by the look of it. It looked completely ordinary, completely peaceful, the kind of village where nothing important ever happens, exactly the kind of place to hide an entire rebellion in plain sight. Roderick smiled faintly. Stay close to me. Shade should walk at my heel like a guard animal. Princess Alara, walk beside Mira. Keep your hood up. We go to Master Galen's house first. We descended into the valley. The first villagers spotted us as we entered the outskirts. An old woman tending chickens, a young boy carrying a bucket. None of them reacted with alarm, but I saw the boy run inside the nearest house and not come back out. The old woman straightened up slowly and watched us pass. Her eyes were sharp and calm. Not afraid, just aware. By the time we reached the village square, half the village seemed to know we were coming. The children playing in the square paused their game and watched us with serious eyes. Two men sitting on a bench nodded to Roderick as we passed. He nodded back. We turned down a narrow side street. We stopped in front of a large stone house with a heavy wooden door. Roderick knocked twice. A pause. Then 3 times. Another pause. Once. The door opened immediately. A tall man with white hair and sharp blue eyes stood there, maybe 70 years old. Captain Roderick, he said warmly, and company. His eyes went past Roderick to the Princess Alara. His face softened immediately. Princess, I have prayed for this moment for years. He stepped aside and gestured for all of us to enter. We filed into a large, warm room. A fire burned in a stone fireplace. There were chairs and a long table. The room smelled of bread. A woman in her 30s was setting bowls on the table. She looked up as we entered. She had the same sharp blue eyes as the older man. The head man, Master Galen's daughter, Lyra. She nodded politely. Welcome, Princess. Please sit. You all must be exhausted. Eat first. I will examine wounds after. She did not bow or curtsy. Practical. I liked her immediately. We sat at the table. The food was simple but good. Bread, cheese, stew with vegetables, cold water from a deep well. The first proper indoor meal I had seen since I died in another life. I was eating it on the floor like a pet. The Princess Alara saved scraps for me again, slipping them under the table. Lyra noticed, but said nothing. She just watched me thoughtfully. After the meal, the conversation turned serious. Roderick produced the letter from his pouch. He laid it on the table in front of Master Galen. The old headman read it slowly, twice. When he was done, his hands were trembling. He looked up at the Princess Alara. His blue eyes burned with a fierce old fire. This changes everything. This is what we have been waiting for. With this letter, we have proof of the Empress's intent. We can call on the nobles to declare for you. Some have been waiting for an excuse to break with her openly for years. The southern lords mentioned here are already wavering. If they see this, they will turn. The Empress promised them lands she does not have the right to give. That is a betrayal too far. Roderick nodded grimly. We need to send copies, carefully, to at least 6 houses we trust. To 3 more we are not sure about. To 1 rival faction inside the Imperial Court itself. Who carries the copies? The Princess Alara asked. Master Galen smiled. I have couriers, trained men. They can ride for days on little sleep, and they know how to avoid Imperial patrols easily. They will leave tonight. By morning, 6 riders will be moving in 6 different directions, each carrying a sealed copy. Within a week, the most important noble houses will know everything. And the Empress? Mira asked quietly. How long until she knows we are moving against her openly? Master Galen considered the question. He sipped slowly from a cup of water at his place. By the time she knows for certain, it will already be too late. Her own intelligence networks will fragment when the nobles start declaring. She will lose her grip on information first. Of course, he added. She will not go down without trying. She will send assassins after you, princess. She will send armies. She will use every dirty trick she has known for years. We will need to keep you hidden and moving. Greymoor is safe for tonight, maybe 2 more days. After that, we move to the next safe house, until you are ready to appear publicly. The Princess Alara nodded. How long until I am ready, Master Galen? Honestly, how long before I can show my face in the world again without being killed in the same hour as showing it? The old headman thought about it. 3 months, maybe 4. We need the nobles to publicly declare. We need at least 2 major army units to defect. We need the southern provinces to rise. Once all that is in motion, you can appear at a noble house safely, with armed guards, with a declaration of your father's true will. With a letter, then the Empire chooses sides openly. 3 months. 3 months of moving from safe house to safe house, of being hunted, of training, of waiting for the world to shift in our favor. It was a long time, but it was a real plan. Lyra stood up. Now, Princess Alara, your wound? Come with me. The rest of you can stay and continue planning. I will return her within the hour, mostly healed and properly bandaged again. The Princess Alara stood. She looked at me. I rose too. We followed Lyra into a smaller room at the back of the house. It was a simple healer's chamber. Clean, white cloths everywhere. Lyra closed the door behind us. She turned to the Princess Alara. She said quietly, "Sit on the bench. Remove your dress to the waist. I need to see the wound clearly to treat properly." The Princess Alara obeyed. She winced as she pulled the dirty fabric away from the dried blood. Lyra examined the wound with quick, efficient fingers. She tutted softly under her breath. It is healing well, considering. Whoever cleaned it knew what they were doing. Mira, I assume. She trained with my mother years ago. She is one of the best field medics I know personally. But this wound needs stitches and a proper salve. I will numb the area first. You will feel pressure, but no pain. Lie back, princess. She handed the Princess Alara a small wooden block. Bite this if you need to. Some people do. You will not need to scream. The numbing herb is very effective, but the body sometimes wants to react anyway. The Princess Alara lay back slowly. Lyra worked carefully. I sat at the foot of the bench and watched. The healer's hands were sure and gentle. The Princess Alara did not flinch. She just stared at the ceiling and breathed evenly. While Lyra worked, she spoke quietly. Princess Alara, my father told me about you many times when I was small. He said you would come back one day. He has been saying it for 16 full years. I never quite believed him. I thought maybe he was just trying to comfort us, trying to give us a reason to keep going. But here you are, in my treatment room, with a magical leopard. She glanced down at me. Her sharp blue eyes lingered. An umberpard. I have read about them. My mother had old books about the old magics. She said your kind always chose someone special. Royal blood, mage blood, blood that goes back to the First Kingdoms, long before the Empire existed, princess. Your mother had old blood from her side. You carry it through her by birth. She smiled faintly, which means this leopard was always going to find you. The moment he was reborn into this world, he would have known where to go. Old magic does not give choices. The Princess Alara turned her head slightly to look at me. Her gray eyes were calm but curious. Is that true, Shade? Did you have a choice in finding me? I did not know how to answer her. I had not had a choice in being reborn. I had not chosen the location, the forest, the moment of meeting her. All of those things had happened to me without my input. Maybe that was the answer. I sent her a careful message through Mind Whisper since the cooldown was up. I did not choose. I just woke up. You were the first thing I cared about. I do not know why exactly yet. She smiled softly. Perhaps that is your old blood recognizing mine, Shade. Perhaps the universe placed us together because we are meant to walk this path together. I am glad it is you here. Lyra finished her stitches. She applied a thick salve. She bandaged the wound tightly with clean white cloths. Her work was beautiful and precise. The Princess Alara sat up slowly afterward. She tested the binding by twisting her torso slightly. Much better, she said. Thank you, Lyra. I owe you. Lyra waved her off. You owe me nothing, Princess. My family has waited for you. Healing you is part of how we serve. It is an honor. The Princess Alara, dressed in clean clothes Lyra had laid out for her. Real clothes, not torn rags. She straightened her shoulders proudly. We returned to the main room. The conversation had moved into logistics. Master Galen was assigning his couriers. Roderick was reviewing maps of the next leg of the journey carefully with him. The Princess Alara joined them at the table. She listened. She asked questions. She made one suggestion that caused Roderick to pause and reconsider his plan. He looked at her with new respect. That is a good adjustment, Princess Alara. I had not considered the Eastern Road. You're right that it is less watched. We will use it. I will tell the courier going to House Talwyn now. She glowed with quiet pride at the small approval. She was learning. She was growing into the role. Every conversation was making her more capable. She would be ready in 3 months for sure. As evening fell, Master Galen led us upstairs to the rooms he had prepared. The Princess Alara would sleep in a real bed for the first time since her exile. The others would share 2 rooms. I was offered a soft cushion by the fire downstairs. I respectfully declined. I padded upstairs and curled up at the foot of the Princess Alara's bed. She laughed when she saw me there. Of course, she said. Where else would you be? Good night, Shade. Sleep well tonight. We are safe here, at least for a few hours. She blew out the candle. The room went dark and quiet. I lay there listening to her breathe, listening to the village outside, listening to the system, which was unusually quiet. The watching presence was nearby, but it was not pressing closer yet. It was waiting. For something. The system did not tell me what. I closed my eyes and let myself rest for the first proper night since I had arrived in this world of 2 moons and magic. When I woke, it was still dark. The Princess Alara was breathing slowly, deeply asleep. The room was warm. Outside, the village was quiet, but the system was flashing softly in my vision. Magical presence approaching. Distance, 10 meters. Direct line of sight to host. Not hostile. Speaking now. Then the voice came into my head again. The same patient, calm voice from before. Come down to the fire, little Shade. The princess will not wake. Your friends will not stir. We have things to discuss before the sun rises. Things only you can hear from me right now. I lifted my head. The Princess Alara did not move. Her breathing stayed slow. I padded silently to the door. It was open just a crack. I slipped through. I went down the stairs carefully. The main room was dark except for the dying fire, and sitting in the chair by the fire as if she had always been there was an old woman, tiny, hunched, wrapped in a gray wool shawl. Her hair was white. Her eyes were closed. Her hands were folded in her lap. She looked like she could have been any village grandmother, except for one thing. I could see through her. She was not physical. She was a shape made of soft, silver light, just barely solid enough to look like a person. The system updated quietly. Spectral entity, not undead. Voluntary projection. The old woman opened her eyes. They were pale gold, like sunlight through morning mist. She smiled at me. Hello, little Shade. Or should I call you Ethan? Which name do you prefer now? My first stood up. She knew my human name. The system did not even know my human name. It had never asked me. I padded slowly forward and sat down across from her by the dying fire. Both names are mine, I sent her cautiously. Use whichever feels right to you. She nodded slowly. Shade, then. The new name suits the new life. We need not drag the past forward. Who are you? I asked. She smiled. The smile crinkled her translucent face. My name was Mira Veyron. I was the Princess Alara's grandmother. I died 18 years ago. Mostly. The body died. The soul, as you can see, did not leave entirely. There were things I left undone. Stories I left untold. A granddaughter I did not finish protecting. So I lingered, and I waited for help. I stared at her. Mira Veyron, the grandmother. The one who had told the Princess Alara the stories about the Umbra Pard. The one Roderick said had her own Umbra Pard so long ago. You had one of my kind, I said. She nodded. Her name was Sable. She died the same week my body did. We chose to go together. She is at rest. I am not. Not yet. I have one more task. And that task is me, I said. She smiled wider. Partly. The task is Alara. The task is the Empire. The task is everything that comes next now. You are the means. You are the path forward. She leaned forward slightly. Her translucent form flickered. Shade, you need to understand what you are. The Umbra Pard are not just animals chosen by old magic. They are something more. They are guardians, reborn souls, spirits placed into specific bodies at specific moments for specific people. The universe does not make Umbra Pard. The universe transforms souls into them. You were chosen, Shade. Not randomly. You were chosen because of who you were, because of how you lived, because of how you died. Your old life made you fit for this one. Do you understand? I did not. Not really. I had been a game tester who died in a car accident. I had not done anything special. I had not saved anyone. I had not even been particularly good at my job, honestly. I see your confusion, she said gently. You think your old life was meaningless. That is because you measured it by the wrong standards. You measured by wealth, by status, by achievement. But the universe measured differently. It measured the moments when you stayed late to help a coworker, the moments when you fed a stray cat outside your apartment building, just because. It measured the moments when you held the door for strangers. It measured your last thought before death. Do you remember what you were thinking? I thought back to that wet road in the rain, the street lamp, the truck, the exhaustion, and one thought, one small thing. I had been thinking, I hope she got home okay. She, the night shift janitor at the studio, an older woman, the one who walked home alone every night after her shift ended. I had worried about her in the seconds before I died. Not about myself, not about my regrets, just about her getting home safe. The old woman, Mira Veyron, smiled gently. Yes, that is what the universe heard. A man whose last thought was concern for another, even a stranger, even when he was about to die himself. That is why you became an Umbra Pard, because you proved, in the smallest possible way, that your soul could love a stranger more than itself. The universe always needs guardians like that. I sat there processing this. I felt something crack open in my chest. Not bad, not painful, just different. Like a piece of me I had not known I was holding finally got to put itself down. So I was chosen because I was kind, I said, even though I never thought of myself that way. Mira nodded. That is how it works. The kind ones do not realize they are kind. They just do the work. And the Princess Ilara? I asked. Why her? The old woman's face softened. She is my granddaughter, the last of my bloodline, the Empire's true heir, the one who can restore everything. But she is also kind, Shade. She's fierce, she's angry, she's many things, but she's kind underneath all of it, just like her mother was, just like I was once. That is why you are with her. You will protect her. You will help her win this war. You will see her crowned. And after that, you will see what comes next together. There's a long path ahead. We do not see all of it. I thought about this for a while. What can I do that the others cannot? I finally asked. The grandmother considered. You can move through shadows. You can hear minds. You can sense magic. You can level up beyond any normal creature. You can unlock skills that no mortal warrior could match. You are her secret weapon, her hidden blade. She does not yet know how strong you become. How strong will I get? I asked, half curious, half worried. The grandmother smiled mysteriously. As strong as you need to be. The system in your head is not just a guide for you to use. It is your soul, given form. Trust it. Push it. Grow. She started to fade. Her translucent form was getting thinner. I cannot stay long. Each visit cost me, but I will come again later. When you need me, when the path forks, I will be here, little Shade. She paused. One more thing. The Empress has her own ally. Not a guardian. Something darker. Something old beyond knowing. She made a bargain with it 20 years ago. That is the source of her power. Be careful when you face her. She does not fight alone, and whatever helps her is older than the Empire itself. It wants something from her. It has not been paid yet. The price is coming. She vanished completely. The fire popped softly. The room was empty again. The system updated softly in my mind. Spectral contact ended. Major lore unlocked. Continue mission host. The princess is waiting. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the empty chair. The grandmother, Mira Veyron herself. The Princess Ilara's grandmother. Watching over us still, 16 years after her death. The dead were not entirely gone in this world. They lingered. They guided. They waited for the moment. And the Empress was apparently in league with something darker than any of us had imagined. I padded back upstairs. The Princess Ilara was still asleep. I curled up at her feet again quietly. I would tell her in the morning, about her grandmother, about the bargain the Empress had made, about the path ahead of all of us. For now, I just listened to her breathe in the dark room. The system pulsed softly. Level 2 unlocked. Skill point available. Choose at next safe moment. I would. Tomorrow. For now, sleep. Real sleep. The kind I had not had in days, properly. Morning came too quickly. The Princess Ilara woke first. She stretched. She winced at her newly stitched wound. She looked down at me and smiled brightly. Morning, Shade. You slept here? I waited for the cooldown. Then I sent her a careful message. I met someone last night. Your grandmother. She visited me by the fire downstairs. She's been watching us this whole journey. The Princess Ilara's eyes went wide. She sat up sharply, which made her gasp at the pain in her side. She gripped the bedpost. My grandmother, you met. She visited you. She is here too. She is dead, Shade. She has been dead since I was a small girl. I nodded slowly. I sent her another message when the cooldown allowed. Her soul did not leave. She has been waiting for us. The Princess Ilara stared at me. Her gray eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth with her hand. She did not cry, but her shoulders shook briefly. Then she breathed in deeply, controlling. Tell me everything she said. Tell me every word. I want to know it all. I sat up and prepared for a long morning of careful mind whisper messages. The cooldown was going to be exhausting, but she deserved every word. I started at the beginning. The grandmother, the Umbrapard, the reason I had been chosen for this life. The Princess Ilara's old blood, Mira's mission to protect us both. I told her about the Empress's bargain, about the Dark Ally, about the price that was coming due eventually. I told her everything I could remember, every detail, every nuance of the conversation. By the time I was done, the morning was half gone. The Princess Ilara had sat through it all without interrupting. She had wept silently at points. She had laughed once. She had asked many things. When I finished, she leaned back against the bedhead. She closed her eyes. She took several long breaths. Shade, she finally said, thank you for telling me all of that. I will remember it always. My grandmother, she has been with us. She has been watching me my whole life. She knew I would be okay. She has been guiding things from the other side this entire time. Her voice cracked. And the Empress made a bargain. With something dark, something old. That is how she has been untouchable for so long. She is not just a clever poisoner. She has help we did not know of. I sent her one more message. The cooldown was going to be murder for the rest of the day. We will figure it out together. We have allies. We have time. We have me. We have your grandmother. She smiled through her tears. We do. Thank you, Shade, for everything. For all of this. For being who you are. She reached out and touched my forehead with her hand. Warm, steady, real. We went downstairs together. The others were already up. Master Galen and Roderick were at the table with maps spread out everywhere. Mira was making tea. Lyra was packing herbs and supplies. Kale was at the door, watching the village street through a narrow gap. He turned when we entered. His face was tense and pale. Something is wrong outside. People are moving fast right now. A moment later, the door opened. A boy of maybe 14 rushed in. He skidded to a stop in front of Master Galen. His face was pale. He was breathing hard from running through the village. Master Galen, the lookout at the North Hill just sent the signal. Imperial cavalry, at least 20 riders. Coming this way fast. They will be here within the hour, maybe less than that. The room went very still. Roderick stood up. His old hand went to his sword. Master Galen's face hardened. He looked at the Princess Alara. He looked at the maps on the table thoughtfully. Pack everything, he said quietly. Everything important. The letter. The supplies. The healing kits. We leave through the southern gate in 15 minutes. We use the river road from there. The Princess Alara was already moving. She had not panicked. She had not frozen. She gathered her cloak. She slipped a small dagger Lyra handed her into her belt. She nodded at me firmly. Time to go, Shade. Her voice was steady, calm, the voice of a future queen who had just received her training under fire. Lead the way again. We are running, but we are running together. I padded to the door. The system updated. Hostiles approaching, multiple, combat or evasion. Recommendation, evade until Princess is at safer location. Use newly available skills as needed. Newly available skills. I pulled up the menu briefly. Level 2 had given me one new option. Shadow Cloak. The description. Wrap an ally in shadow magic. Conceals from sight for 1 minute. Cooldown, 10 minutes. That could save someone's life today. I selected it. The system pinged confirmation. We slipped out the back door. The village was already mobilizing fast around us. Carts moving, children being hurried inside houses. Master Galen had practiced this. Greymore had drilled for raids before. Within 10 minutes, half the village looked like a normal market day. The other half had vanished, gone into hidden cellars and false floors. The Empire would arrive and find quiet farmers and confused merchants. The Princess Alara would already be miles south. She would be on the river road, riding toward the next safe house with her companions. But before we could leave, the cavalry arrived. Faster than the lookout had estimated. Much faster than expected. Their hooves thundered into the village square. 20 riders, armored, carrying imperial banners. Master Galen pushed us into a hidden cellar beneath the back of his house at the last second. We waited in darkness, breathing slowly. Above us, boots thumped on floorboards. Voices shouted orders. Search every house. The traitor is somewhere in this village. We have intelligence. The Princess Alara was seen here last night. Find her. Find anyone harboring her. Do not be gentle. The Princess Alara gripped my fur tightly in the dark. Her hand was steady, but breath quickened. I leaned against her. I sent her a message. We are not done yet. They will not find us. We have a plan. Trust the plan. She nodded silently in the darkness. The boots above moved closer. The cellar door rattled. A voice barked an order to break it open. The system flashed red. Imminent discovery. Combat readiness recommended. Use Shadow Cloak on Princess if combat fails. Hide her. Then engage if necessary. Shadow Cloak. Right. Save the Princess first. The cellar door splintered open. Light flooded down the stairs. A heavy boot stepped onto the top step. Then another. The Imperial soldiers were coming down. We were out of time and out of room to hide. But I had skills now. I had Shadow Cloak. I had Shadow Step. I had a princess at my side. A princess who trusted me. And I had a grandmother in the spirit world rooting for both of us. The boots came down. The first soldier reached the bottom of the stairs, his helmet visor down. His sword was drawn. He looked around the dim cellar slowly, eyes adjusting from the bright sunlight. I activated Shadow Cloak on the Princess Alara. She vanished from sight beside me silently. Just gone. The system pinged. Active. 60 seconds. Use them wisely, host. 60 seconds. I melted into the deepest shadow of the cellar. Silent movement engaged. The soldier scanned the room. He saw an old cellar. Empty barrels. Crates of grain. A leopard. He froze. He had seen me. Not the Princess Alara. Me. His sword came up. His voice called up the stairs immediately for support. Captain, down here. There's a beast. A black beast. Big one. Send backup. I need backup down here now. More boots thundered toward the cellar. The Princess Alara gripped my fur even harder. I sent her one urgent message before the cooldown locked me out completely. Stay still. Do not move. Whatever happens. Stay invisible until the cloak fades, then run out the side passage. You will see the trap door under the loose flagstone. Take it. Find Roderick. Do not stop for me. The soldier at the bottom of the stairs took another careful step toward where I crouched. 3 more soldiers came down behind him. They formed a half circle around me, swords drawn. They had no idea about the princess, but they had me, and I was not running from this fight. Not this time. The first soldier took another step toward me, sword raised slightly. He could not believe his eyes. A black leopard in a village cellar, the size of a small bear, maybe? His 3 companions fanned out behind him. They were trained. They were professional. They were not panicking. That was bad for me. I needed them to panic. Panic was my advantage. I gave them the slow growl, the deep, low rumble from my chest that the system told me activated a passive intimidation effect. The lead soldier's hand tightened on his sword hilt slightly. "Easy now," he murmured to his men. "Do not rush it. Form up. We take it together. Slowly." Smart. Very smart. He had clearly fought larger predators before, maybe in the southern provinces. I needed to change the dynamic. I pulled up Shadow Step in the system. Energy was good. 80%. I picked my target, the lead soldier, the most dangerous one, the one giving orders. I melted into shadow. The cellar darkened for half a second. The soldiers gasped collectively. I reappeared behind the lead soldier. My claws caught the back of his armor and tore through. He yelled and spun. I was already gone again, back in the original corner. The system pinged. Energy, 60%. Cooldown, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I had to make this count badly. The other 3 soldiers were now extremely panicked. They had not seen me move. They had only seen their captain get raked from behind by something invisible. They started backing toward stairs. "Up! Up now!" the captain barked. "Get reinforcements. Crossbows? Lanterns? This thing moves wrong." He held one hand against the back of his shoulder where his armor had torn. Real fear in his voice. The 3 soldiers thundered up the stairs. I watched them go. I held my position. The Princess Alara was still invisible behind me. I could not see her, but I could hear her breathing softly. Drop a comment below if you are loving where this is going. And tell me honestly, what skill would you have picked at level 2? Shadow Cloak? Or something else more aggressive? The captain's boots hit the cellar floor. He stepped forward one slow, measured pace. His sword was pointed directly at the shadow where I crouched and waited. I counted his heartbeats. The system tracked them too. Fast. Not as fast as mine, but fast enough to tell me he was not as calm as he was pretending to be right now. His armor was good. Imperial standard issue, but the chest plate had an extra layer. Someone had paid for him specifically. The Empress had sent her serious ones this time. I exhaled slowly. My breath did not fog in the cellar air. Another thing this body did better than a human one. Silent, even in the breathing department. Useful tonight. The captain took another step. His eyes swept the far wall, then the grain crates, then back to the center of the room where I sat, in the deepest shadow available. He had seen me once when he came down the stairs. He had not seen me since. I had moved during the half-second his eyes adjusted to the dimness. He was uncertain now. Good. I needed uncertain. I needed a man who thought he might be imagining a predator in a cellar, because that kind of doubt made people do stupid things like turning around. The system pulsed quietly in my vision. Shadow Cloak active. Princess Alara. Concealed. Time remaining 31 seconds. 31. I needed to move in 30 seconds. I heard his companions above us, boots on floorboards, the sound of furniture scraping stone. They were searching Master Galen's house with the kind of thoroughness that left nothing. If they found the trap door to the hidden passage before we reached it, we were done. The passage was our only way out that did not involve the front door and 20 cavalry. 28 seconds. I shifted my weight to my back legs. The captain took 2 more steps toward the crates. He lowered his sword tip slightly, scanning the space behind them. He thought I had retreated behind the crates. He was wrong about that. I was above him, on the ceiling beam. I had climbed it during his second sweep of the far wall in the darkness. 20 seconds. His 3 companions had not come back down yet. I could hear them above, arguing about the flagstone floor in the room near the fireplace and where to look for hidden doors. If they found Master Galen's hidden passage in the next 20 seconds, every plan we had built over 3 days of running and hiding was going to end in this cellar badly. 15 seconds. The captain reached the crates. He looked behind them. Nothing. His hand tightened on his sword. He started turning back toward the stairs slowly and methodically. His eyes would reach the ceiling next. The system knew it too. Recommend engagement now. Window closing in 6 seconds. 6 seconds was not 31. I took it. I dropped from the beam. My full weight landed on his armored shoulders. He went down under me hard, his sword clattering away across the stone floor to the far wall. He did not go unconscious. He was strong. He bucked under me immediately, rolled, tried to throw me off. I rode him. I kept my claws clear of his neck deliberately and carefully. I was not trying to kill him. Killing a captain would bring the whole Imperial unit down on this village without mercy. I needed him embarrassed, not dead. Strategy over instinct. My jaw closed on the back of his gorget, the metal collar that covered his neck above the armor plate. I bit down and held, not a killing grip, a control grip. He went very still. Shadow Cloak expired. The system pinged. The Princess Alara reappeared in the far corner of the cellar, completely visible, one hand pressed to her mouth and gray eyes wide. The captain felt her appear. He could not see her from his position with me on top of him, but he heard the sound of reappearing air and the small, sharp intake of her breath. "Princess," he said. His voice was flat, controlled. Even with a leopard on his back and its jaws around his neck armor, he was thinking about his mission. Admirable, honestly. The Princess Alara stepped forward carefully. She crouched down so she could see his face. Her gray eyes studied him with the calm she had been building for 3 days now. "Let him breathe, Shade," she said quietly. I loosened my jaw slightly. The captain took a full breath. He did not try to move. Smart. The smartest thing he had done. "Your name," the Princess Alara said. Not a question. A command. The captain's jaw worked briefly. Then he said it. Brennan, Commander Brennan, 3rd Imperial Cavalry Unit. Commander Brennan, the Princess Alara said, how many men do you have above ground right now? Another pause. Then, 19. The 20th is my sergeant. He is outside. The Princess Alara nodded slowly. And if I asked you to let us leave through the back passage, would you do it? Brennan was quiet for a long moment, thinking something through. No, he said finally. I have my orders, and I have 19 men who would follow them whether I told them to or not. You cannot negotiate with an Imperial unit, Princess. I am not negotiating, the Princess Alara said. I'm informing you of what is going to happen next. She reached into the neck of her cloak. She pulled out a folded piece of paper. She held it where the commander could see it, even from his position on the cellar floor. His eyes focused on it. I watched something move behind those focused, professional eyes. A letter, he said. In whose hand? The Princess Alara smiled, small and sharp and cold. Your Empress's, describing, in considerable detail, her arrangement with Lord Harwick. The arrangement by which she has been paying him in stolen Imperial grain stores to move his cavalry between the South provinces and the capital without logging the movements. Commander Brennan said nothing, but his breathing changed. The system tracked it. Subject? Elevated heart rate detected. Recognition response. He knows about the arrangement. The Princess Alara folded the letter and tucked it back into her cloak. I have 2 copies of this letter, Commander. One I'm carrying. One is already on its way to Lord Carvin. Lord Carvin, she continued, who has been at war with Lord Harwick for 11 years over the grain route rights, who will pay extremely well for evidence of this kind. Commander Brennan was very still beneath me now, not the stillness of a man waiting to fight, the stillness of a man who was doing mathematics he did not like the answer to. You could take me back to the Empress, the Princess Alara said. You could execute me here. You could carry out your orders exactly as given. That is one choice available. Or, she said quietly, you could let us walk out the back passage. You could report that you searched this house, found nothing, and continued your sweep further south. You could protect your men from the consequences of being connected to Lord Harwick's arrangement when that letter reaches Lord Carvin, which it will, regardless of what you choose. Commander Brennan said nothing for a long time. Above us, boots moved across the floorboards. His men were getting closer to the area where the passage trapdoor was hidden. The system pulsed. Warning, Imperial soldiers approaching trapdoor location. Estimated discovery, 45 seconds. 45. The Princess Alara heard my small warning sound. She looked at me briefly, then back at the commander. She did not push. She just waited. She had learned patience from this forest and from Roderick and from 3 days of running. She had learned that the right argument, given to the right person, at the right moment, did not need volume or repetition. It just needed silence while the other person thought. Commander Brennan exhaled through his nose. It was a long, slow exhale. The kind a man lets out when he has found the only door in a room and does not like where it opens to. Call them off the passage, he said quietly. One call up the stairs. They will obey. The Princess Alara looked at me. I eased my weight off him slowly. He did not move. He lay there for a moment. Then he got to his feet. He straightened his armor. He looked at the Princess Alara with the blank, professional face of someone who had made a decision. He walked to the stairs. He called up. Nothing in the cellar. Moved the search to the east wing. Boots above us shifted direction. Moved away from the trapdoor area quickly. The passage trapdoor is under the flagstone with the chipped south corner, Master Galen had said. The Princess Alara moved to it now, quickly, her cloak trailing the floor. She lifted the stone. Below it, darkness and a ladder. She looked back at Commander Brennan. Thank you, she said. Simple, not warm, not cold, just true. Brennan said nothing. He turned his back to us deliberately and walked to the far wall and stood there. He was not watching. He was a professional making a professional choice. The Princess Alara went down first. I followed. The others had already used the passage, I realized. The ladder marks were fresh. Roderick had moved them before the cavalry arrived. I was the last one down. I heard the stone drop back into place above me. Commander Brennan had replaced it. The sound of boots above faded as the Imperial unit moved east. The passage was narrow and dark and smelled of old earth and moisture. My night vision opened it up for me immediately. Stone walls, a wooden brace every 2 meters. The Princess Alara was 3 meters ahead of me. She moved quickly, one hand trailing the wall. The system tracked the others ahead of her. Roderick, Mira, Kale, Torin, moving fast, all alive, all safe, all already at the far end of the passage based on the biosignature distances. We had maybe 200 meters of tunnel left to clear before the exit. I kept close to the Princess Alara. She did not look back, but she knew I was there. The slight tension in her shoulders had eased the moment she heard my pause on the passage floor. That small detail hit me somewhere in the chest region of this leopard body. She felt safer knowing I was close. That had not stopped feeling significant, even 3 days in. I pressed forward. The passage curved once, then straightened. Then I smelled open air ahead, cold, fresh, carrying pine and river water and the particular smell of evening settling in. The exit was a low wooden door built into the base of a hillside, covered with moss and age and 20 years of intentional neglect. It looked like a natural earth feature. Roderick had it open when we reached it. He gestured us through without a word. The Princess Alara ducked out. I squeezed through after her. The cold air hit my fur in a wave. We were on the south side of Greymore, below the village. A narrow river road ran through the shallow valley here, trees on both sides, dark water catching the last light. The others were already moving down the road. Fast, quiet. The system scanned behind us. Pursuit. Negative. Commander Brennan is keeping his word. Imperial unit moving north. I held there for one moment, looking back up the hill at the village. Smoke still rose from the chimneys. I heard no screaming, no sounds of violence. The village was intact. Master Galen had protected his people. Commander Brennan had made his choice, and the Princess Alara had given him a reason to make the right one in a dark cellar, quietly. No battlefield, no army, just a piece of paper and a steady voice and gray eyes that knew how to wait until the moment was ready. Roderick had been right about her all along. I turned south and ran. My paws found the road, and I caught up to the group in seconds. Kael was carrying a pack that was not his. He had taken something from Mira to share her load. Mira was walking with her eyes on the dark tree line east of us. Her hand stayed near her weapon, not drawn, just near it. The kind of readiness that came from years of practice. Torn was at the rear, checking behind us every 30 seconds. He moved with the careful rhythm of someone who had been trained to cover retreat and knew exactly how to do it well. Roderick was at the front with the Princess Alara. They were talking quietly. I moved up alongside them and listened, because listening was most of what I was good for lately. The river road takes us to Millhaven, Roderick was saying. 2 days on foot if we move well. 1 day if we can find horses somewhere before the morning light comes back. Millhaven has a contact, Mira said from behind. A horse trader named Petra. She has been with the Queen's network for 8 years. She will have mounts ready at short notice. If we can get word to her tonight, Roderick said. He reached into his coat and produced a small folded note. Torin, you move faster than all of us. Take this to the Millhaven crossroads. There is a post tree 200 meters from the crossroads stone on the east side. Hollow knot in the bark, chest height. Leave the note there. Petra checks it daily. Torin took the note without comment. He looked at the Princess Alara briefly. She nodded once. He turned off the road and dissolved into the trees going south and east at a jog. 4 of us now, plus me. The group was smaller but lighter. We moved faster on the road. The 2 moons were rising again behind us, pushing long shadows ahead of us on the path. I ranged ahead, scouting. The system gave me the map. The road was clear for 3 kilometers. 1 small farm on the east side. A stone bridge over a tributary creek. No Imperial presence. No hunter units. Whatever net Commander Brennan had been part of, it was drawing north now toward the false report of our absence in the village behind us. An hour passed. The Princess Alara did not slow down. Her wound had been properly dressed by Lyra in Greymore before the cavalry arrived. She moved with less pain than yesterday. The forest around us was alive with its usual night sounds. Insects, water, the occasional large animal moving in the darker trees north of the road. Nothing the system flagged. And then, at the 2-kilometer mark south of Greymore, the system flagged something. Not threat level red. Not urgent. Just a soft yellow pulse with a familiar notation I had seen before. Magical signature detected. Distance, 50 meters. Stationary. Known pattern, awaiting approach. Known pattern. The Watcher. The voice from 2 nights ago in the dark forest. The one that had told me, soon, little shade, soon. And then, first the princess must reach Greymore. First the letter must be delivered. Then we will meet. We had reached Greymore. The letter had changed a commander's mind in a cellar. And now, whatever had been following us for 3 days was 50 meters away and waiting. I slowed. The Princess Alara noticed immediately. She slowed with me. Shade? She asked softly. Roderick stopped ahead. He looked back at us with sharp, attentive old eyes. I sent one message through Mind Whisper, even though the cooldown was barely finished and the effort cost me something I would feel later. The Watcher is here, to our right, 50 meters. The Princess Alara's hand did not go to her dagger. She looked to the right instead, into the dark trees beside the road. Her gray eyes scanned the darkness calmly and carefully. Come out, she said. She did not raise her voice. She used the same tone she had used in that forest 3 days ago when she told me I could step out of the shadows. The same quiet certainty that something was there and that it was more curious than dangerous. That tone had been right once. The Princess Alara trusted her instincts about these things. Nothing moved in the trees for a long moment. Roderick's hand had gone to his sword hilt. Mira had taken 2 steps to the side, creating space between herself and the others for a reason. Then the air between 2 trees shimmered. The kind of shimmer that had nothing to do with heat or water. The kind that meant something that was not quite in this world was stepping into it. A shape emerged. And then the shape resolved, and I understood, looking at it, why the system had categorized it as an unknown signature and had never managed to assign it a threat level. It was a leopard, black as midnight, bigger than me by a third, with eyes that were not gold or green or the silver blue of my own night vision, with eyes that were quietly luminous white. Old. That was the word that hit me first and did not leave. Ancient. The kind of ancient that sits in a stone long before the stone has a name for what it is made of under it. The great leopard stepped fully onto the road. It moved with the silence I had been trying to learn for 3 days, except this creature was not trying. It simply was that silent. It looked at me, not at Roderick, not at the Princess Alara, at me. The system pulsed rapidly, building something new in my vision. Something it had never shown me before, and this was new. A recognition event, ancient entity identified. Classification, origin, Umbra. First of the Shadow Leopard bloodline. Status, outside system parameters. Proceed with caution host. Outside system parameters. So even the system did not fully know what to do with this entity. I felt strangely validated by that. If the system was uncertain, then I was allowed to be also. The ancient leopard lowered its great head. Not a bow, an acknowledgement. The way one predator recognizes another of equal standing, regardless of the difference in their sizes. I held very still. The Princess Alara was completely still beside me too. I could feel her attention beside me like a physical weight, focused and intent in trying to understand. The ancient leopard opened its mouth. No sound came out, but I heard it, not through my ears, through the same channel that Mind Whisper used, except this was not Mind Whisper. This was older than the skill. This was whatever Mind Whisper was a shadow of, the way a campfire is a shadow of a sun. The voice arrived inside my chest, not my head. Ethan Park, it said. My name, my old name, not Shade. Ethan Park, game tester. Apartment 4B, the name that had died with my first life on a Wednesday at 3 in the morning. I had not heard that name since I died, not even from myself. I had been Shade for 3 days, and before that I had been Ethan, and the space between those two things was very large. You are surprised that I know your name, the ancient voice said. It was not a question, more like an observation, like a river observing that water is wet, patient, massive, calm. I sent back through the channel the only honest response I had. Yes, I am surprised by most things lately. That has not changed since I got here. A pause, then a sound that might have been laughter. The leopard who thinks like a human, the ancient said. We have been waiting for you for 300 years. Not you, specifically. The one who would come from outside. The bridge. 300 years. I turned that over in my mind. The system had told me on my first night that the Umbra Pard had been extinct for 300 years. The exact same number. They died because of what the Empress did, I sent back. Not a guess. A pattern I had been building from fragments over 3 days. Roderick, Mira, the history of the Empire. Yes, the ancient said. The first Empress, Celine's ancestor. She made a bargain with something dark that your current world does not have good words for anymore. She used it to erase us. Why? I sent. The ancient lowered its great white-eyed gaze to the road for a moment. It was the first time it had looked away from me. The gesture felt like memory. Because the Umbra Pard chose Alara's ancestor, it said. The first queen, the one who built the empire before it was corrupted. While we stood with the crown, the Empress could not move. She waited until the bond between the crown and the Shadow Leopards weakened. She found the dark bargain. She struck on a night when the bond was at its thinnest. We could not hold. 300 years of patience, I sent. Why not send someone back sooner? Why not find a replacement before this? The ancient was quiet for a longer time than before. A bridge cannot be made, it said finally. It must choose itself. A soul from outside this world arriving in a Shadow Leopard's body. The conditions are extremely specific and very rare. You died in the right way, at the right moment, with the right kind of life behind you. Someone who had spent years learning the mechanics of systems, of games, of strategy and improvisation. Someone who had been useless in one life and needed badly to do something that mattered in the next one. That combination does not come along often. We waited. You came. I sat with that for a while. The road was dark and quiet. Roderick had not moved. The Princess Alara beside me was barely breathing, watching, understanding that something enormous was happening. What does it mean? I sent. Being a bridge, what am I supposed to bridge between? The ancient looked up from the road. Its white eyes found mine in the darkness and held. Between what the Empire was, it said, and what it must become. The Umbra Pard have always been the living proof of the Crown's right to rule. Not by force, by choice. We choose, freely. And when we choose, the people see it and they believe. They believed 300 years ago. They will believe again if the bond is remade in the right hands. You chose her, it said. It looked not at me now, but past me. At the Princess Alara, standing very still beside the road. 3 days ago, a newborn 12% odds and no reason. Well, you chose her anyway, in the only way that counts. Not by system prompt, not by quest objective, by your own decision in the dark, when no one was watching and nothing required it. That is the bond, the ancient said. That is what the first Empress broke, and that is what you have just remade. The Empress Selene does not know it yet, but she has already lost. The Princess Alara made a sound, small, barely audible. I looked at her. Her gray eyes were very bright. Not with tears, with something steadier than that, with understanding arriving. She had heard none of the exchange between the ancient and me, but she had watched my face, and she had watched the ancient leopard watch me, and she had drawn her own conclusions. She reached out and touched my shoulder with one hand, the way she had touched me the first morning in the forest, when she had asked if I understood her, when she had not yet known. It told you something important, she said quietly, about what you are, about what we are, maybe. She was always 3 steps ahead, The forest and 3 days of running had not changed that. I looked at her. I sent the message carefully, the last one I could manage before the cooldown made Mind Whisper unavailable for another long stretch of hours tonight. It told me that the bond between your family and the Shadow Leopards was broken 300 years ago by an empress who was afraid of what it meant for her power over the Empire, and that you and I remade it 3 days ago in a dark forest when I was 12% odds and you were bleeding into the leaves. It said the current empress has already lost. She does not know yet. The Princess Alara was quiet for a very long time. The road was still. The 2 moons were fully up now, casting their double silver light across everything around us in long, gentle waves. Then she said, with the same voice she had used in Master Galen's cellar and on the cliffy overhang, and in the very first forest, when she had calmly told me to eat her quickly. Then we need to make sure she finds out. Not rage, not triumphalism, just the quiet certainty of a person who had been given a map and was now deciding on the most efficient route. Roderick let out a slow breath. He had not understood the full conversation, but he had been reading its shape from our faces and the ancient leopard's presence in the road. He looked at the great white-eyed creature with the expression of a man who had hoped for something for 16 years and was only now allowing himself to believe it might be real. An Umbra Pard, Roderick said softly. His voice had gone rough. Your mother had one, Princess Alara. I served beside them both for years. I never thought I would see this again in my life. The ancient leopard turned its white eyes to Roderick. For a moment they simply looked at each other. The old captain, the ancient first leopard. The weight of 16 lost years between them. Then the ancient leopard moved. It did not walk. It stepped back between the 2 trees it had emerged from, and the shimmer closed behind it. It was simply there, and then it was not. The system pulsed. One final message from it, simple and clear in my vision. Bond status updated. Classification, Umbra Pard Prime. New skills available, new responsibilities acknowledged. New skills, new responsibilities. I almost laughed. 3 days ago, I'd been learning to walk on 4 legs. Now I was apparently the functional reboot of a 300-year-old sacred institution. The universe had definitely not been subtle about what it wanted from my second life. The performance review was, you failed to matter once. Now matter. Do not waste the opportunity given. Kyle arrived back at the road from between the trees at that moment, slightly out of breath. He had heard none of it. He looked at the group standing very still and raised an eyebrow. Did I miss something? He asked. The Princess Alara looked at him. A great deal, she said. I will explain while we walk. We need to keep moving. The road is clear south, yes, Shade? I turned south and began walking. She fell into step beside me. The others followed. The road opened up ahead of us, silver-lit and clear, running south toward Millhaven and Horses, and beyond that, toward 2 more safe houses, and the Northern Lords, and the evidence in the letter, and the 17 allies Roderick had been building for 16 careful years. And beyond that, further still, toward a capital city where an empress was burning letters and poisoning kings and sleeping without nightmares because she believed she had already won. She had not won. She had 300 years of patient momentum and a dark bargain and an empire's worth of resources. We had a piece of paper and a handful of loyal people. And a Shadow Leopard who had died on a Wednesday at 3 a.m. in a different world and woken up here with 12% odds and a decision to make in the dark forest. I had made my decision. The bond was real. The Ancient had said it could not be unmade once freely chosen. So I carried it forward now, step by step, down a moonlit road going south. The Princess Alara's hand found my fur as we walked. She did not look at me. She was looking south, ahead, toward everything that needed to be done. But her hand stayed there. Tell me something, she said quietly, after we had walked for several minutes in comfortable silence together on the road. When you saved me the first night, what were you thinking? I was out of Mind Whisper. The cooldown would not lift for hours. So I did what I had always done when the skill was unavailable. I looked at her, and she read my face like she always did. You were thinking it was the only right thing to do, she said. And you were scared? But the right thing and the scared thing were pulling the same direction, so you moved. She was not wrong. She was almost never wrong about these things. The Princess Alara Veyron had gray eyes that saw the shape of decisions even when they had not been made yet. I'm glad you moved, she said simply. She looked forward again. The road curved. Trees on both sides. The river to our east, dark and swift and running south the way we were. Kyle was listening from a few meters back, trying to pretend he was not listening. I had learned to read these things. Mira was doing the same. Roderick was not listening at all. He was watching the road ahead with the eyes of a man who had spent 16 years being careful. He would not relax until we had horses under us and distance between us and the cavalry. Fair enough. I kept scouting. The system gave me clear readings for the next 2 kilometers. No threats, no signatures. The road was ours for now, and we had earned this 2 kilometers. My grandmother, the Princess Alara said, after another long, quiet stretch between us. The ancient one you spoke to, you said it was connected to the first queen, my ancestor. I tilted my head. She had made that connection herself. Good. Smart. Always. My grandmother used to call the Umbra Pard the living conscience of the crown, she continued. She said the Empire's founders believed that a ruler who could not earn the free loyalty of a Shadow Leopard had no business ruling anyone at all. It was a check, a real one. The Empress understood that, she said. Her ancestor understood it. That is why she had them destroyed. Because a check on her power that could not be bribed or threatened could not be allowed. She was quiet for a moment. The river caught moonlight to our east. So, by choosing me, you're not just protecting me. You're making a statement. A very old and specific kind of statement. I rumbled low from my chest. The cat equivalent of yes, that is exactly correct. You are extraordinarily fast at understanding things that would take most people much longer to grasp. The Princess Ilara almost smiled. The nobles will understand it, she said. The ones who remember the old traditions. Some of the older lords still tell the stories. It will mean something. It will mean something the Empress cannot counter with soldiers or poison or whispered words in the right ears, she continued. Because you are not a political argument she can refute. You're a symbol, an extinct one, which makes it even worse for her. When they see you beside me, they will not need me to explain it. They will know what it means already. She stopped walking abruptly. She turned to face me fully, there on the moonlit road, with Roderick ahead of us and Kale and Mira behind. She looked me in the eyes. I need you to understand something, she said. Her voice was low, not commanding, not performing for the others, just talking to me. I know you are more than an animal. I have known since the first morning, maybe since the first night, if I'm being completely honest. The way you moved, the way you made decisions, none of it was animal instinct. You're something else. Something with a mind and a history and a life you had before this one that I do not know anything about and have never asked about. I am asking now. I looked at her for a long moment. The system was silent. The road was quiet. She was asking me, directly and seriously, who I was before I was Shade. And she deserved the truth. I was out of Mind Whisper. I could not answer her tonight, but I could acknowledge the question. I could let her know that when the skill recharged, I would answer it fully. I pressed my forehead against her hand. She felt it. She nodded slowly. All right, she said. Tomorrow then. Or when you're ready. There is no rush. We have time now. She reached down and touched the top of my head briefly, the habit she had apologized for before. The one she had stopped apologizing for after the first time. I made clear it was fine. Whoever you were, she said quietly. Just for me? Just for the road and the 2 moons and the river and the ancient bond between us that 300 years had not been able to break permanently. Whoever you were, I think they would be glad to know what you became. I think they would recognize the decision you made in that forest, even if they were afraid to admit it. She turned back to the road. We started walking again. The system hummed quietly in the background, logging, mapping, tracking, watching the night for threats on my behalf. But for this moment, for this particular stretch of moonlit road going south, it felt less like a survival tool and more like what it had been from the beginning in that dark forest. Company. Something in the dark that kept track of the things I could not watch alone, so I could focus on what mattered in front of me. It had always been that, if I was honest, same as the Princess Ilara, same as Roderick, same as Mira and Kale and Torin and Master Galen, and everyone who had shown up to care about something that was bigger than their own safety. The Empire had made enemies of its best people, and those people had spent 16 years building the thing that was walking south on a river road right now, this small, dangerous group. I pulled up the new skills menu. The system had said new skills were available after the pawn status update. I looked at them, curious. Some were familiar upgrade versions of what I already had. Shadow step range had doubled. Silent movement had gained a secondary effect the system called Environmental Echo, which meant I could now feel the broader terrain through it. Shadow Cloak had been extended from 60 seconds to 3 minutes. The cooldown had dropped from 10 minutes to 6. Material difference in a real combat situation, genuinely useful. And then the 4th skill. New, previously locked. Previously not even visible in the skill tree the system had been showing me. Umbra Bond. The description was brief and precise. Share your senses with a bonded partner for up to 60 seconds. Limited to the Princess Ilara Varen. No cooldown limit, but requires physical contact to initiate the connection. No cooldown limit. I read that twice. The system had never given me a skill without a cooldown before. Mind Whisper had its hours. Shadow Cloak had its minutes. Everything had limits. But Umbra Bond was different. It was not a timed ability. It was a permanent state that could be accessed and released. Because it was not a skill, really. It was the bond itself, made functional. I looked at the Princess Ilara walking beside me. She was watching the road ahead, thinking through something, the slight furrow between her brows that appeared when she was planning. I filed the skill away. Not for tonight. Tonight we needed to reach Millhaven and find Torn at the crossroads and get horses and put more distance between us and the Imperial Cavalry. Tonight was still a survival night. Tomorrow could be a discovery night. The day after that could be a planning night. Survival, discovery, planning. Each one its own kind of necessary work. Somewhere further ahead, when we had enough allies and the letter reached the right hands, the Northern Lords had seen what I was and understood what it meant. The reckoning night would come. The Empress Celine, in her palace, did not know yet that she had already lost. She was still winning, by every measure she had. The king was dying. Caius was being groomed. The evidence was hidden. She had 20 cavalry riders searching south from Greymoor and Hunter units in the forest, and a network of spies in every village between here and the capital. She was thorough, but she had made one mistake that none of her spies had reported back yet. One specific mistake that had happened in a forest at the beginning of this week, in the dark, with 12% odds. She had not finished the job when she exiled the Princess Ilara. She had not sent enough men on the first night. She had trusted that the forest would do the rest for her. The forest had not cooperated. The forest had given the Princess Alara a Shadow Leopard instead. The last surviving soul capable of remaking a bond the Empress's ancestor had spent enormous resources to erase from the world. That was the mistake. The forest was unpredictable. The Empress had forgotten to account for that. Or she had accounted for everything the forest could naturally produce and missed the variable that was me. Ethan Park, game tester. Apartment 4B, killed by a street lamp at 3 in the morning on a Wednesday, reborn in a body that history had been waiting for very patiently. The system pinged softly. Not an alert, just a gentle notification. 1 kilometer to Millhaven Crossroads. Torrens biosignature detected ahead. Route clear. Well done, host. Well done, host. The system had never said that before. I noted it without comment. I kept walking. The road curved south. The river widened slightly, catching more moonlight. Ahead, through the trees, I could see the faint glow of a lantern. The crossroads. Torren waiting. And beyond that, somewhere in Millhaven, a horse trader named Petra, who had been loyal for 8 years. Horses meant speed. Speed meant distance. Distance meant time. Time meant planning. Planning meant the letter and the northern lords and the allies Roderick had built for 16 careful years. And all of that meant eventually a capital city and an empress, who did not know yet that the thing she was most afraid of had returned while she was busy being certain she had won. I ran the probability in my head. Not 12% anymore. Not for tonight. Tonight was already won. Tonight we had Commander Brennan's decision and the passage and the moonlit road. Tonight I had no idea what the odds were exactly. Better than 12? Maybe much better. The ancient leopard had said the Empress had already lost. Ancients tended to know these things. I chose to believe it, not because I was naive, because I had done enough probability analysis in video games to know that the odds changed every time a new variable entered the system. I was a new variable, a very strange one, an extinct species, a reincarnated game tester, and a 300-year-old sacred bond remade in a dark forest on a desperate night. The Empress did not have that in her calculations. She could not have. She was working with the world she knew. We were working with the world we were making, one decision at a time. Torren emerged from the darkness at the crossroads. He gave a low whistle. Roderick returned it. They clasped arms briefly. Petra received the message, Torren said. Horses ready at dawn. 8 of them. Good ones. She says the Imperial cavalry came through Millhaven yesterday and she sold them information about sightings on the northern road to send them the wrong direction. She apologizes for not having more warning to prepare. She has fresh food packed for all of us and a warm barn for the night. She says, "Welcome home, Princess, and it is about time." The Princess Alara stood very still for a moment. Then she exhaled. Something released in her shoulders that had been held since the first night I met her in that forest, bleeding into the leaves. Not all of it. She would not release all of it until this was finished. But some of it. The first real exhale, the one that said we had made it far enough that the next part was real. "Tell her thank you," the Princess Alara said. "From me, personally. Tell her I said the waiting is over. We are coming home." Torren nodded. He turned south toward Millhaven. The Princess Alara looked at me. The 2 moons were high. The road was silver and wide and open. Her gray eyes were steady and alive and already thinking about what came next. "Ready?" she asked. I started walking south. She fell into step beside me. The others came behind us in a line. The system was quiet. The bond hummed warm in my chest without words. The night stretched ahead. The Empress did not know what was coming. The capital did not know yet. The northern lords were asleep. The documents were waiting. The plan was already in motion. We walked south together, a princess and her shadow. A bond made and broken and remade across 300 years in one dark night and 12% odds in a forest. And somewhere behind us, 3 days back in the dark trees, a newborn leopard had made a decision that history had been holding space for since before anyone alive had been born. That leopard was walking south now. Not newborn anymore. Not 12% odds. Not uncertain about what he was, or what he was here for, or who deserved to sit the throne of Veyron. He was Shade. He was Ethan Park. He was the last Umbrapard and the first of the new bond, and the variable the Empress had failed to account for in all her very careful calculations. He was the shadow beside the Princess Alara on a moonlit road going home, and he had absolutely no intention of stopping until the thing that needed to be finished was finished. The road went south. The moons followed us. The river ran beside us in the dark, and the Empire, which did not know it yet, had already started to change in the shape of that decision. Drop a comment if you made it this far. Tell me what you think happens at the Capitol. Tell me if the Empress deserves a chance to explain herself. And tell me if you trust Commander Brennan. Because I think we will see him again. And I think, when we do, it will matter very much which side of that choice he has decided to stay on. The story is not over. It is just beginning to become the story it was always supposed to be. Some stories take 300 years to find their first page.